Hello. Good evening.
Hello.
Good night. Welcome. Wombat. Welcome back.
Hey, remind me when we have our 2 minutes to go do our bathroom break before we start.
2 minutes.
That has
start. We're at
you
the
can go to the bathroom in 2 minutes.
That's good.
Yeah, 3 times. Is that weird?
It's a hornet trick.
Wait until
Welcome.
you get old.
Hey, we've got a show. We're doing the show. We've done some false advertisement,
We had some changes.
some changes.
Changes to the mission plan.
Our guest, Naveed,
Looks a lot like Wombat.
looks a lot.
So-
Amazing what you can do with
gosh, you
CGI.
guys even sound the same.
Yeah. So
It's all
well,
AI.
we were like, you know what? Wombat's more interesting. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do it. He's on a lesser viewed channel right now, talking about. Well, I don't even know. Whatever. This is not gonna bother me. It looks weird.
It's
So
next time, man.
hey, Gonky,
Hey,
how was your
Mover.
week, man? Did you do anything fun for the last few days?
Rain. Had that. Just doing the dad thing, man. Trying to keep the kids alive, wife happy. Other than that, working here in the office. How about you?
No, I did a Mardi Gras parade.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wait, you participated or
No, I
you...
stood next to it and watched the floats go by. Had to leave Luna at home because the Luna mobile is dead forever now. It is officially gone. We've talked about that before. So
This wasn't a sheriff thing, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was. Yeah. Friday night. Mardi Gras season is upon us. And I did that. And but this weekend, happy anniversary, my friend. It is the second anniversary of our Finny flight.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
What'd you get me?
Apparently a video.
Yeah. So well, hold on before we get there. Wombat, how was your weekend?
Yeah.
It was good. It was
Did you
good.
do anything fun?
Not a lot. I mean, just pretty low key. So, but it was good. Yeah.
Hello,
Awesome.
Douglas.
Back to
Yeah,
work
Doug,
tomorrow.
What's up, man?
Gentlemen.
I did some DCS with Douglas. Got to
Yeah,
try
that was
out
a
the old Wind Wing
high-
Skinwalker pedals.
High point of my weekend was getting shot in the ass by Mover.
Oh, nice. Perfect. He's known
We're-
for that.
It's on theme. You know what? It's on theme for tonight. It's on.
Are we just going to let that slide? We're just
Might as well. There's more to
We're on
come.
brand. We're on brand for
Okay.
what we got here.
Okay.
Like I said, happy anniversary.
Yeah, it's
It
been
is-
2
it is-
years.
Time for a reaction.
I have not seen this.
Newsweek. We had hoped to have him on the channel, but like I
Yeah.
said, he's not here tonight, so it's just gonna be us.
But hey, thanks, dude, for putting this together. Who would ever thunk it, right, Mover?
Yeah, I posted the trailer, which is funny because the trailer is longer than the actual feature. Labor of Love.
Typical fighter pilot, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean. So I posted the trailer yesterday, and the response has been pretty good. It's the second time the response has been pretty good. A lot of backstory behind that one,
Oh yeah.
but it's all approved. It's all legit. Newsweek stuff's all approved, all legit. In fact, it's time. Let's.
Can I say something before you start?
Yeah. Say it, please.
Because I don't want to say it after. So I think it's important if people haven't seen this.
I
don't
haven't.
ruin it. Don't ruin
No,
it.
I'm not going to
Don't
ruin
ruin it.
anything. I'm not going to ruin anything. So the last plane that I knew it was my Finny flight in was the E2 in 2008. So circumstances out of my control. I did not know my last flight in the Hornet or in the T-45. I think what you guys got to do here is pretty awesome. I've watched both videos 10 times plus at this point.
That's why it's
And
got so many views.
it's hard to watch for me because I understand, like, you'll have this forever. Like, I remember my last Hornet flight. I remember my last T-45 flight, but to have something like this it's pretty damn special. And it's cool just to be here to watch with you guys, honestly.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, dude. So it's funny because like you can always tell when it's some of the older fighter pilots that are responding because they'll say exactly that, which I think is cool. But then they're befuddled by the technology. Like one guy responded, he's like, how many cameras did you bring in that jet? I mean, that's amazing. You had all these cameras set up. How did you even see outside? I'm like, bro, one camera. That's all it was. I think that might be why some of the older like boomers get a little upset about it, because they're like, he must have had cameras everywhere. He must have had them, helmet and side. And it's like,
Dude, can you imagine carrying that?
Yeah, dude.
Well,
My dad had one of those. He
Right.
had
Back-
one giant shoulder.
well, back in the WW NAM, cameras were forbidden because one individual got their little, 8mm camera and ran into the other asshole because he was trying to film.
Yeah.
And it's like, we did not do that.
Hmm.
We mounted the GoPro. It's
Yeah.
a GoPro Max. It's 2 of them, 1 in each jet, and that's it.
Yeah.
That was
They're
the whole
looking
thing.
through I
Yeah,
don't
we
have any
didn't-
depth
we-
perception.
Any bad flying would have happened with or without the cameras.
Yeah. Pretty
So,
much.
yeah. All right. So anyway, can we watch it now? Are we ready?
Yeah, dude, I've been waiting all day. Exercise extreme.
Believe it or not, it's
self-discipline.
part of a time.
Okay, hold on. We gotta back it on
Oh
up.
boy. Oh man, look at this. I'm not used to this level of professional video.
The bromance, if you will. There's even captions for you. If I can make sure that
That's not going to help Gonky. But
He can't read.
Yeah. Need to-
All right, are you ready?
I'm ready,
Sure.
man. Hit it.
Gonky's reaction. I'm gonna get rid of the overlay just so we can see your face. Because I don't want to ruin this. Okay. Since you're up there. All right. Let us begin.
How did these two best friends end up dogfighting their fighter jets over the Florida Panhandle? Believe it or not, it's part of a time-honored tradition in military aviation.
That's not us,
And
by the way.
I've heard a number of these stories, but this one's pretty cool. And oh, by the way, they just so happened to film it. With the Air Force's permission, we present to you Gonky and Mover's T-38 Finny flight.
That's Gonky. So cool. Great channel. Check them out. Subscribe.
Yeah.
The military is full of traditions,
We don't do
and
that,
the
though.
aviation corps is no exception. It starts when pilots first get their
It's me.
wings and ends with their final ride, known as a Finny flight.
And that's all she wrote.
You probably know Mover and Gonky from their YouTube channels, where they talk about all things military aviation.
That's you.
What you may not know is that they also have a shared military
Oh, the
service history together, going back over a decade. Their time together began while flying F-18s with the Navy. Then, both moved to flying T-38s in the Air Force. That history continued through January 28th, 2022, when the two friends strapped into separate T-38s, taking off on their Finny flights together. And like everything in the military, it starts and ends with paperwork.
Clear step.
Great times.
You've probably seen a T-38, even if you don't know its name. It's one of the most recognizable military aircraft. It's been used to train generations of pilots over its 50 years of service. Gonky and Mover flew the jet in an adversary role, essentially pretending to be the bad guys to help Air Force pilots hone their air-to-air combat skills.
Finny flight. Take off okay, fly good, land good, or you're fired.
Our pilot ready.
My only plan right now is to successfully get through this. Have a little fun in the process. Maybe eventually get the seat kit connected. There you go. Dude, you've been here since day one of me being here, huh?
Yep, I've been here since
The whole time.
14, I think.
I'm glad you were my crew chief.
Lee 1, Eglin Tower, runway 30132013, clear for the option.
Mover and Gonky are friends, but that doesn't mean they're not fierce competitors with a desire to win.
Yeah, I'm coming back left now. I got you inside.
And oh boy, do the fangs come out.
3, 2, 1, go.
Go. That's not from the fight. That's from
Yeah, I
something
know.
else.
That was fun. Hard to believe it's over. I know, it's crazy, dude. Why are we doing 250? I'm savoring the moment, dude. At some point, I actually got to land this thing.
True to his competitive core, Mover had one last trick up his sleeve.
Let's see it.
Letting Gonky land first.
That's
and
right.
making sure
That's
his
right.
Finny flight
I
was the
landed last. I was the last true bro to land.
Oh, yeah.
Mover and Gonky's Finny flight not only marks the end of their time with the T-38, but also the end of an era as the Air Force replaces the jet with more modern aircraft like the T-7, F-16, and F-35. As the two celebrate, their future may be a bit uncertain, but I think the pair is sure to fly again, whether that's in the traditional sense or even something a little bit more unconventional.
Where'd Gonky go? 3, 2, 1, lights on. Whoa, no. Oh, dude. Oh, that is awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's oh, they got your name spelled.
They misspelled my name?
No one ever spells your name right.
Yeah.
Rod Hardstock.
Rod
Of course. It's what do you?
Oh, dude, that was awesome. You're right, Wombat. I honestly, Mover, how lucky are we to have somebody like
Cool.
Navid to like really? I mean, that's an awesome product right there.
Dude, that was pretty cool. Those guys.
Kind of speechless.
When we first talked to them, I didn't know what this would become. Because they were just like, "Hey, we're doing this new series, and would you mind helping us out?" And I started talking to him. I said, "Hey, we did this Finny flight," and he's like, "That's an awesome story. Let's see if we can get it approved." And lo and behold,
yeah, gosh,
cool.
That's all, man. It's too bad he couldn't have been here to talk with us about that. But yeah, what's funny, man, is I have not, I haven't heard the audio much, and they spliced in some of the audio of us talking, and
I gave him the whole thing. Yeah,
and I it just came to me right now. It's like it's not real often that you get to go out with your buddy and just kind of like make up your own mission, but kind of the banter that we have in the ready room here.
Newsweek said best friend, so just so you know,
bestest
the world.
Okay,
it's official.
You go out with your bestie and your fighter jets. It's the comm is just as interesting to me as the flying.
Oh yeah. How many times did you say, dude? Everybody could VID your voice or AID, audio identify your voice.
Well, you're like, why are we going 250? I'm like, oh, I remember that. Good times, man. Yeah, you're right, Wombat. That's friggin'. I'm definitely gonna download that one. Holy cow! I don't know. What do you think, Mover, when you saw it?
I smiled the whole time. I mean, it's the same thing. You sit there and you're like, is it gonna? You're like, oh, okay, it's okay. Because anytime you give up editing control, you're kind of like, I hope he does it right. I hope it doesn't. And then all of a sudden, you're like, damn, this is not bad. And you'll notice the footage. So a couple of the shots are from Whiteman. They're not our jets or Beale or whatever, but a couple shots are from other Finny flights.
Oh,
so,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So like the breakaway thing, that was Tank's Finny flight.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because
that's awesome.
Because I kept being tagged as the camera ship, so they would put somebody in my back seat. And so I'd fly, and then they would go, I have the aircraft, and then I'd be the one, doing that. And so like the 3-ship thing, that was Snipe and Tank, where they were going down the coast. That's Snipe, Tank, and Blue going down. And then the other one, I think they might have gotten the one with Tone and Tally.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like way back there, and I had Epic in the back with me.
Yeah, I Mover told me don't watch it. We'll get a true reaction on the show tonight. But I'm actually really pleased that he tied it into like the whole tradition thing. Because that's one of the things when I was younger and wanted to join. Part of it is I wanted to be a part of that tradition.
Yeah,
and it's cool that he took some footage that we had and made a made a nice video kind of explaining it and showing it, which is awesome, man. I can't wait to send it to my family. They'll get a kick out of it.
I don't know that we ever got to explain because, obviously we didn't get to post the full thing, what happened. But, if you remember, we flipped the coin to see who was going to lead.
I lost.
Yeah. Did you lose or win? I don't remember how that
I
worked,
lost.
But, so we decided I was going to lead out. You were going to lead back. And then we took off. We tried to get the unrestricted climb. Eglin said no. I asked like 3 times trying to get, I'm like, this is my last sortie. Give me what if we take off the other, what if we go opposite direction? Is there a way we can do this? And they're like, no. Yeah, whatever. And then, so we tried to get that. That was denied. The weather was kind of skosh. Remember, they had that ceiling and it was kind of, and you had the ear thing. So you didn't want to go high anyway. You had the sinus thing. Yeah. You were afraid of your sinus block because you were like, I don't want to, so we started fighting and we couldn't get enough airspace to do anything. So we just kind of did a couple turns and we were like, okay, knock it off. We're at the floor or whatever. And then we burned down some gas and we went to Tyndall.
Yep.
And I brought us up initial. And then we pitched out, and then you had trouble. I don't remember what it was because we did the separate low approaches, and we got to the VFR reporting point. I remember which one, X-ray, I guess. And we were going to rejoin there, and I'm like, dude, where are you? And I don't remember what happened. There was something that happened that you were having trouble like getting back on board, and that's that cross under because you start on one side, and you cross under on the other side. I'm like, all right, you got the lead. And then you come back and request the carrier brake, and somebody comes up behind us, so we can't get it.
Yeah.
So the Navy guy doesn't get the carrier brake on his last military flight. Yeah. But I did.
You did.
Yeah.
That's right. I kind of did. I was on your wing.
Kind of did. Yeah. We did it briefed. All briefed.
100%.
And then
ad nauseum.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The models and everything. And then we RTB. We did a beach run back.
Yeah.
And
we beat up the pattern, right? That was it.
Like twice. I mean, you did it twice. I kept going because that was always my plan, was to let you land first so I'd be last. Because we were the last bros, cool kids in the squadron. There were a couple of stragglers that kept flying the T-38, but we don't count them.
Right.
But we were the last ones. We turned the lights off, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah. I don't know. Wombat, you got any?
No, there's nothing I can say to that. It was
mean, we did in the Navy. We didn't call them Finny flights in the Navy. We called them.
Did you?
No, we didn't call them Finny
flight 204.
That's because
I
named it.
Yeah, I'm like, this is my Finny flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just called it like, hey, so and so is 10 out for their last flight, right?
Yeah, there was no
official
no
name.
specific term. Yeah, but
yeah.
But I mean, you never forget it. Like I remember, like I said, the E2 was the last one I knew was going to be mine. And when I went over to Hamburg last week with Terrell, we were sitting in a bar in Germany talking about that flight, and he's like, "Remind me." I was like, "Remember you opened a bottle of soda and
he was with you?
He was my co-pilot. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I was like, remember how you dropped the cap underneath the rudder pedals and you had to get out of your seat while we were on short final at San Clemente? And he's like, I do remember that, so it was like
the weird stuff happens.
Yeah. I mean, so you'll never forget that. That's really cool that you guys,
one thing the Air Force does, like tradition, that's really cool that the Navy doesn't do is, so when I was, I did the first part of the pilot instructor course, the FAPE course, or PIT in San Antonio. And when I first showed up at the squadron there, I can't remember the squadron, but when I showed up in the hallways, they had all these plaques of guys from mainly Vietnam, but the conflicts who had gotten shot down. And so every year I found out, I was just talking about these plaques because they were really cool. The Air Force doesn't want your last flight in a jet to be when you got shot down. So they bring these most of these guys are Vietnam vets who got shot down. They bring them out and give them one flight in the T-38
No
So
kidding.
so their
Pretty
Finny
cool.
flight wasn't them getting shot down. And I thought, man, that's the coolest thing ever. I mean, there was pretty sure they still do it. I
Yeah.
think they had a name for it, but
If the Navy wants to bring that back, I'll sign up right now. Like, you pick
Yeah.
the plane, I'll do one more flight because I feel like I got shot down twice.
Yeah.
Not really, but
I've had 3 Finny flights in my career, and that was the first one that I did not know what was next. Because I flew the Viper, and it was like, well, I'm going to fly the Hornet. I'm going to go home because I was in Miami and I was ready to get back to Louisiana, and that was just go spend time with my family. Flew the Hornet. I wasn't sure, but I had a good idea that I was going to go fly T-38. So it wasn't, I'd rather have stayed flying the Hornet, but at least I got to fly something.
sure.
When the T-38 thing happened, dude, we had no idea. And,
flying a desk.
right as I found another job, things took a turn for the worse. And it wasn't until last year that I found an awesome group of leaders that saw the reality and saw the potential. And although it wasn't flying, it was a job that I felt like I could do to make a difference. And, would I have rathered, go fly F-35? Yes. F-16? Hell yes. Especially an F-16. Would I want to go fly an F-16 right now? Yes. But I think I'm fortunate that 2 years later, I'm sitting here and things have worked out as they have.
Yeah.
It might not have been what I thought, but it's better than I imagined. And if you'd have said 2 years ago, hey, or 1 year ago, mover, you'll be reviewing this Finny flight footage with the blessing of, headquarters, and, everybody's happy and thinks this is awesome for everybody, I'd have been like, you say what now?
Oh, yeah.
But I think things have worked out in a way that I never expected. I'm grateful for the people, including Naveed, that made this a reality.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's so cool. My parents they'll love that. That's
they're
awesome.
gonna lose it, man. They're
Yeah.
gonna lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Any
Mover.
attacks? Yeah, dude. I thought you'd enjoy that. It was just cool to do that. We got some questions from the audience, so run through them real quick. Lou says T-30 is one of the sexiest aircraft, even if it's old as dirt and uncomfortable. Thanks for the Gonky reaction bed. Greetings from Oregon.
Thanks, man. It's like an old muscle car.
Laura says, how many beads mover earned? None. I stood in the back away from the people.
I want to know how many you gave out.
0. I don't give out. I don't receive. I just stand there and hope the parade ends faster.
Stoic.
Go faster. Doug needs a cam for when he talks. Here's his contribution to Gonky. Gonky, you got to buy him a camera now.
All right.
Oliver says, hello from Norway,
Thanks,
guys.
Oliver.
Tuning in at 2 a.m. and that's dedication.
That is, man. Thanks,
dedication,
Oliver.
dude. Thanks for
Hopefully you
doing
get your
that.
money's worth, man.
Avgeek Joe says T-38 adversary how? Better than you would think.
Yeah.
Saturation.
I don't understand the okay, yeah, tactics. Sure. Just bury them with numbers.
Yeah. You gotta be wily.
Pretty
Gotta
much.
Let's see. Jack says, in this video, you can hear Gonky say dude on the radio multiple times. That's how you know it really is Gonky.
Is it that bad?
Yes.
You know
That's
what's
who you
crazy?
are.
Is my son is
Don't
starting
change
to talk
anything.
like that, and I'm like,
Oh, it's perfect.
dude, you can't talk like that.
He's like, dude, dad, dude.
I know. I don't know where I picked that up from.
Be
but it's-
authentic.
Time in California.
Mom, Matt, did I
I think
talk
it's
like this
generational.
22 years ago?
I think
Yeah,
it's
you did.
generational. I
You've
call my
always
wife
been
dude.
this way.
I
Yeah,
can't
you've
call
always
my
been
wife
this
dude.
way, man.
Really?
It's the second part. It's the second part of your call sign. That's all. It's just that part of you.
Dude,
All right,
bro.
that's enough deep intel on that.
John says, a great video. You can't bully that poor man anymore.
I'm not. I'm actually using it in
bullied
context.
out of using it, and now you've preempted it.
I want him to bring it back.
I'd love to know what you guys are even talking about because I haven't followed any of this,
So-
which is awesome. And I'm too afraid
Dude,
to
it's
ask.
hey man,
bullied
it's a creator
Rio.
inside joke.
Gonky bullied this Rio
No, I
and
didn't.
never using his own catchphrase again.
I never bully anybody, man. Just a
Cyberbullying is not a joke, Gonky.
No, that's a real thing.
John says, great video testament of how camaraderie within a paramilitary organization spans a lifetime. And dude, that's a great point. You see, talking like when in Rome. But if you look at that picture, with the exception of one, maybe two people, that was a family.
Oh, 100%.
That group picture, the finest Americans I've ever served with.
And unfortunately, a lot of them had left because that place was kind of
retired. Yeah,
Right.
retired, got new jobs.
Yeah.
You know, it was such a tragic way that it went away, because when I showed up
It was awesome.
in 2018, I didn't know what to expect. You know, and we had a hurricane, and that kind of put a damper on things. But that time, dude, I think, other than the fact that I wasn't a huge fan of the T-38, 2019 was probably the highlight of my flying career, because the bros in that squadron, guys and girls, were some of the best people I'd ever flown with, because everybody was cool. Everybody came from a different community. It wasn't like, you know, Hornets, everybody's a Hornet guy. Viper, everybody's a Viper guy. This was like, you got a Strike Eagle dude, kind of weird. C model guy, you know, a Viper dude, a Raptor guy, you know, and everybody had this mix of where'd we come from.
Yeah, it's
but
cool.
It didn't matter, because we were all one squadron and taking care of each other. And, you know, we were going through this rough time with the hurricane, and we all kind of bonded together in the uncertainty. And unfortunately, from a bigger perspective, you know, they didn't see that and go, hey, this group needs to stay together and stay flying. And it's a real shame, because I think everybody there were just awesome. Just some of the greatest people. That dude, that Finny, that flyby we did, I mean, highlight of the career. That was, you know, of the things I've done, that was one of the coolest things.
Well, I think, I mean, it's always, you know, when I was the RAG IP, and one about probably when you were an IP as well, like some of the students would ask me about the squadrons, and like and I'd pick their brain. Hey, where do you want to go? I want to go to VFA, whatever, because they have the newest jets. And I'm like, no, man, you want to go to the squadron with the coolest bros, because the airplane's the airplane. You're going to have to work, play, cruise with this same cadre of people. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them. And if they're like family to you, it's going to be the best time of your life. But if you guys don't get along, you could be flying the brand new shiny whatever, and you're going to be miserable. You know, it's all mover. It's like you were saying, man, it's all about, you know, you say bros, it's just kind of a term of just good people. Right. So,
You know what I found interesting, and when you say that about, you know, people wanting to fly the newest jets, in my experience, the squadrons that were the closest had the oldest and the most beat up ones.
That's all we had.
It's because it was something you could bond to, you know, when you're flying a lot.
You're the underdog.
Charlie.
Well, dude, that's life. Like, you look at some of the happiest people, they're the salt of the earth, living in the poorest of conditions. Like there's one side of my family that, you know, they live out in the hills and the woods, and dude, you cannot tear that. Like, they all live within throwing a rock at each other, and they're all, you know, happy. Yep. It's just that's what happens. You know, when you take away the material side of things, you find what's more important.
Yep. 100%.
And but for the T-38, we all had shared back and neck problems.
So we were all old. Most of us were old.
With back,
you probably had
and
no
problems.
idea where you were geographically at any point in any flight.
No, we had iPads. Gonky, a couple of those videos, it flashed the old Garmin. That's how I could tell it was a thing, because we had the old Garmin. But anyway, we're all Zippers Forever seems odd that my dad flew T-38 from 66 to 67. You did a Finny flight in 2022. I think those
the same jet.
Those jets were 60s,
late 60s, early 70s. Yeah. Wild.
JB Smoke says they did justice to you too in this video. More than we deserve.
Yeah, 100%.
Laura says, I hope this kind of positive attention helps get you guys back in jets. I love the sentiment, but it's probably the opposite.
Probably, unfortunately.
Yeah. Lynn says, hilarious Wombat comment loading. Just look at his face right now.
Not this time. Not this
Garrett
time.
says, happy Monday. Finally told my parents Garrett. I joined the Corps.
Nice.
And they're really supportive. Nice. Were your family supportive? How did they react? Yeah.
How'd yours react?
Mine were super supportive. So,
Well, now, how old were you? Because you did the Corps Cadets, right? So how old were you when you were like, hey, I'm gonna do this?
Well, I mean, I don't think. I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't think anybody in my family really believed that I was going to stick with it, until later on in college when it actually started. When I started getting successful at A&M and, actually being more focused because I just wasn't like I just didn't care about anything, So, but I think it was then, mid A&M time is when they saw it, but they were supportive before that. My family's always been very supportive, so thank God, helps a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. For me, it was man, my parents are like your parents. My bad. If I was pushing a broom, they'd be like, "He's the best broom pusher we've ever."
Because
That's
your
why
parents
Gonky
told
has-
you.
Yeah, unlimited confidence because his parents told him he was great from the time he.
No.
Your parents raised you the same way that my parents raised me, where it was like, if you're gonna be a broom pusher, you better be the best damn broom pusher there is. Like, so
Exactly.
In fact, I believe I was told that specifically. So,
Right.
so,
No, but my dad was definitely not part of the everybody gets a trophy generation. He was like, you got your butt kicked, didn't you, boy? I was like, yeah.
As he's trying not to laugh at you for it because it's funny.
Yes. How about you, Mover? How'd your parents take it? Your dad?
Well, just my dad. He was always supportive. My dad was one of those guys that, he would never push. He's like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. I'm not gonna. I'll support
Army,
whatever
right?
you just do. He was Army for 24 years.
Oh, okay.
Warrant officer. So that kind of perspective.
Did you know him when he was a warrant? Like, were you?
Yeah. Well, I was like a toddler. I was like
4
or 5 years old. Let me drive a tank. I drove a tank when I was 4.
That's cool.
So he retired when you were like 4 and 5?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was younger when he retired.
Okay.
But he was always supportive. I mean, it was one of those things that whatever you decide, I'll support. If you want to do it, great. If not,
Yeah.
okay. And because he had that perspective, especially towards the end of his career, where he got to where he's like, yeah, I knew it was time to leave. When I would go through the gate, my chest would start tightening up. I started not liking going there anymore. And there's no perspective to that until you get that feeling.
That's perfect.
He's like, that's when I knew it was time to quit. Because when I was
pressure rising.
Because when I was young, I didn't want him to ever quit because I thought it was the coolest thing. Desert Storm kicked off, and I'm like, I hope he goes. He's gonna go kill everybody. And
this is amazing.
Yeah. He's like,
how to be a kid.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome, dude.
So D Stu says, Wombat, I hear they're going to replace the E2 ?
Blasphemy.
There's no way. They're still making new ones with the way the Navy's. It's the longest lasting naval aircraft currently in service.
You really think? I mean,
would it be
the first time they made a new one and then got rid of it?
Well, but I mean, you gotta. From what I know of its current mission, I know of nothing else that could do that mission.
Is the D model still the newest?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't see it anytime soon. The COD, yes.
Yeah, but my God.
Kate says, so amazing to watch you two real fighter pilots. 3, the last bros. I feel like the universe is smiling on all 3 of you now, and so well deserved.
Thank you.
It's grinning. I don't say it's smiling. It's got like a smirk.
Well,
it's better than it was.
It's a great video, but all 3 of us at the beginning of our military careers, if you had been like, so little Wombat Mover Gonky, how do you think your career is going to end? It was way more glorious than.
Wasn't that? It wasn't.
Yes.
Turn the
There was
lights
an
off.
Australian flight attendant.
Yeah. Military career.
Yeah.
Yes, there's lots of stuff behind me on fire that I blew up.
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
There was a lot of stuff. Eddie, Weddy. Did any of you fly the F5? No. If so, how different does it feel from the T-38?
You fought it.
Or the MiG-28 for that matter.
Probably better. It's probably a better airplane.
Yeah.
Mark Vasquez says, so true, Gonky. The people are what I miss about the military. I came from P3C Orions, 50-year-old airframes that rattle through the sky, but the people made it the best time of my life.
Yep, 100%.
And then Roberto, Gonky is not a cyber bully. One day you guys will be on a deep intel episode.
I would feel
find myself
honored.
I
ever
feel like
getting-
I feel like there's a list, and Gonky's name is right at the top now.
I think there's
Actually, you know
like
what? It's probably my name because everybody loves Gonky, and Gonky's the
No.
one doing the bullying, and they're going to be like, "Mover, it's you."
I don't.
Dude, I'm up
bully.
there with you, man. I was talking to a mutual acquaintance of ours, Mover, from previous times with writing, and who just got on a podcast, aviation podcast, and he's like, "Man, you'd be great on it." And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's like 3 or 4 aviation podcasts that give the 2-finger salute to the old wombat, and I'll never ever make it. But so be it. Don't
All right,
take
hey.
yourself too seriously.
We've got to talk about the things.
Oh, yeah. What things?
We got breaking news, and it's not good news.
No, it's horrible news.
So, Doug, you have that article. We'll put the article up, and I'll just talk about it. So
Is it that
there
one?
was a drone attack. I got it, Doug. We just leave it up there. There was a drone attack in Jordan. A small installation known as Tower 22 killed 3 U.S. service members from, I think, the 718th Army group, and not Army group, but it was a group in the Army. And the drone, they're saying the reason it got through is because they thought that it was their own drone returning, and it happened to be this one-way suicide drone, whatever. And it killed 3 and then injured, I think it's in the 40s now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Because they were staying in tents out there. It's like 1,000 like in theater, and of this there's like 300 at this one base, and over 40 were injured, and then traumatic brain injuries and all this stuff. So it brings up a point, Gonky, that you have made repeatedly about the one that gets through.
Oh yeah,
And we can take it down because we're just discuss it now. There have been talks. I want to talk about kind of the response, but for the serious part of this, this goes to your point, Gonky, of, we're in an area where we're not in any kind of real combat operations. I mean, they're doing the Houthi response proportionately, or at least we'll call it proportionately. And we're there for maritime security, but this is the Army. This is the Army in Jordan, where obviously there's always going to be a threat. And I think there's been some attacks in Iraq, like even more recently than this. But this is the first time where U.S. service members have been killed. And that changes the metric a lot. One is too many.
Let's put it that way.
One is too many. 3 is unacceptable. So, what do you think, man? I mean, you're right. And this is not the thing you wanted to be right about, but you're right about when one gets through. Now what?
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, I've said a lot of other things as well. I lived, it's so sad to me. I've lived in the Middle East, in that area. I've fought in that region. De-escalatory stuff is what you want, but that's not happening. Right. I've always been a big fan of just like pummel and leave. The whole idea of just meddling for 20 years. Pretty sure we all saw how that probably not.
You can't nation build. You're not.
Yeah.
We're not good at that at all.
We're not Rome, right? So like, I'm a huge fan of, okay, you poke the bear, there's going to be a huge rain of fire on your military stuff. I'm not, definitely don't want any innocent people, but it's war. It's nasty, right? It's always the last thing you want is, hot rounds going down range. So, I'm just a huge fan of, just pummel them and then leave, because I don't want anybody else, namely on our side, to have to lose any sons and daughters, man.
But the thing is, the pummel is a country that's not just going to be pummeled, right? It's Iran.
Yeah,
right.
So to me, it doesn't matter.
Full scale war. That's not.
It can be, but I mean,
We assume it will be, but you don't know that.
Right. You don't know.
Right. But you're not just talking like, the Houthis, right? Where you can go, crush them and there's not, I mean, this is a little different. Wombat, what's your take, man?
When I think of this stuff, it reminds me of a lesson, which makes me feel old, that I taught my son the other day. And I leave his social media for reading this. This isn't my quote, but, he had a kid in his school that was kind of bullying him a little bit, and as you can imagine, my boy's not a small boy, right? So I told him, I go, you don't fight. Like, fighting is the last resort, right? Just like Gonky said, like, you don't want to send those hot rounds down range. I go, but when it's time to fight, you fight like you're the third monkey on Noah's Ark and it just started raining. Like, and you go in there and you fight and you're done. And he kind of laughed at that, but it's the truth. I mean, you go in there with a purpose, so we don't have another damn 20-year, whatever the three of us dealt with that had no purpose, and get it done, get the hell back out, get home, and go back to doing what we're doing. And that's all this is. It's a bully. It's no different than if you're on a playground or you're at this level. It's a bully that's trying to press and see what we will take. And we're taking it, unless I missed the news, because I haven't heard our response.
Well, they are saying that there may be an announcement or some kind of response tonight. But
No.
Wombat, to your point, I spent a lot of time doing Krav Maga under an Israeli. He fought in the 6-Day War. And the tenets, as taught to me, were avoid, negotiate, kill, which I actually used as the title of the book, because I think that's, and we talk about it in avoid, suppress, defend. I mean, we have different ways of saying the same thing in aviation as we do this, but the big thing was avoid. If you can avoid it, turn around, walk away, run away. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're backed up into that corner. Negotiate, talk your way out of it. Try to see if you can use that verbal judo and come to a peaceful resolution. And then at the end, it's kill. And it starts with kill their will, kill their ability, and if you have to, kill them. Because you want to decisively win. Otherwise, you are putting yourself in a grave bodily injury situation. And I think that really applies across the board. Gonky, I mean, you're planning this counter strike. What do you do?
Well, before we get into that,
I'm going to need 2 sections of F-18s.
I need 1 Hornet. No,
find me the oldest 06 that flew the Tomcat.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what, I will say.
And if it helps, if he doesn't listen at all, that helps.
If he owns a P-51 and likes to go really fast.
I will say this, like, what has happened is terrible, but what has happened to me in the last 2.5 years, I have become much more aware that the talking box, my TV, or let's just say mainstream, I don't, for lack of better words, I don't trust really anything that comes out of the mainstream. So if the mainstream reports something to me, even if it's 100% true, because I'm like a dog that's been kicked, I always, put my guard up. So, I say I want to go over there and pummel them, but that's how I felt after 9/11. But I remember asking myself a couple questions, but my love for my country and my sadness for my countrymen who died, overpowered any, I'm going to say, potential logic I might have been trying to put together in my head. So, pummel and leave, just like Wombat talked about, is the answer. Hopefully what we're hearing is true and the whole story, because no matter what happens, if you are going to go pummel somebody, the good chance when hot metal's flying, there's going to be casualties on both sides, and we don't want any more casualties, right? So, I mean, so anyways, how would I do it? I would use, we've got tons of standoff weapons. I would pick a whole bunch of high value targets.
No,
that's what
2 sections, paveway.
Yeah, because they'll be GPS jamming.
Buddy lays, yeah. 5th gen.
Too many buttons, dude. Listen, switchology errors are real. Ask me how I know. like, where'd the bomb go? Oh, I forgot to arm the laser.
That's why you
Still
have Bob.
there.
That's
Yeah,
what Bob's
that's
for.
right. It's still on the airplane. It's like,
I'll bring it back to you. This one's reusable.
yeah, dude. Hey,
Rocky,
Morty's.
this is your way back in, dude. You and me, man. We'll teach them and then do it ourselves.
We had
Top Gun
people
3.
on the boat to plan our missions. So
Yeah, that's the
They're
other
called
piece you
mission
gotta remember.
planners.
What we'll take is that 60-year-old guy, train a crack group of Top Gun graduates, and ignore the carrier that's already out there. Those dudes not qualified.
Right.
We're gonna take people from somewhere else and put them on their carrier.
Hey, hold on. First of all, as the LSO, I could get them worked up to carrier calls in 3-4 weeks.
That's true.
No problem. No problem. I mean, these guys, they're good, right? So
man.
3 weeks of pure carrier calls, FCLPs at the field, they'll be set.
I'm not in the failure rate.
I don't want to make light. I mean, every now and then you got to interject humor to stuff, to tense situations and stuff. But the reality is, nothing that is about to happen is good.
No, nobody wins is what we're
This
trying
is
to say.
this is not. We don't want to see an escalation on any front. Period.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I'm sure Wombat feels the same way. But now that I have my own kids and stuff, I think about this stuff, and like I'm like the way I think is different. I mean, I don't want to, unless the Ruskies are coming over the border, so to speak.
That's a different crisis that was last week. Totally different story.
Right. Okay. But you know what I'm saying? If Gonky's backyard is under threat of being taken over by somebody from another country, then I'm all for sending my kids to defend their country. But I've just as a parent, the value of human life is much more to me now.
All right. We got some from the audience we'll talk about real quick. DG says, did you guys cut the fingers out of your Nomex gloves and utilize finger flashlights to see and to help signal the deck crew during night ops?
Even better.
Originally, I did that, and then we got the gloves without the fingers, right?
Wiley X.
Did you guys have those? Yeah,
those
were
that's what I'm wearing in my Finny flight video is the Wiley X.
Nice. They would cut off, what was it?
Not an endorsement, by the way, just what they gave us.
So you had those on that?
I'll take a free pair of those. I'll endorse them. I'll endorse anybody, whatever. I'm out.
Right.
But yeah, when I was in my Hornet squadron, we had them. And then T45s, I wore them because I wanted everything in T45s.
Yeah,
because if you ever punch through that canopy, you were going to get stuff. Ugh.
Yeah, it's my first skipper. It's actually, technically you're supposed to wear them. It's like the rules,
the rules, yeah.
Yeah. So
Navy pilot breaks rules.
Right. So I'd never wear them. And my first skipper, he told me, he's like, look, man, he's like, I don't care what you do. But he said, if you ever have to reach down between your legs and pull the handle, he's like, I've had friends that have ejected and your hands get burnt by the rocket motor.
I believe it.
And he was like, he was like a sky god, man. He was so good in the airplane and he always wore gloves. I can push all the buttons. I'm like, well, I'm not you. I'm Gonky. I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, there's a much better chance I'm actually gonna have to pull this handle.
Right.
Much better. But no, I didn't wear it much in the Hornet, but when I went T45s, I wore them hands down because the crew chief or it wasn't the crew chief, ground guy in Corpus. You guys have heard that story where he was trying to help a crew by shutting the canopy, and he blew the cord in his face. And I met him after, just all that shard
burn him.
It was stuck in his skin. It wasn't burning. It was like all that shatters and it like melts into your skin. I'm like,
Jesus. Jeez.
So
wow.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks,
for that.
DG.
Yeah. Blake.is. I sat in an F-16A cockpit at the Dayton Museum. Felt like F1 being reclined like that. How did it feel actually flying? Awesome.
You have to go to Mover's OnlyFans to hear how he really feels about flying the Viper.
I get really close to the microphone and I talk about it. Dude, I would weep. I would weep. I'm serious. You can Manchester me if you want. I would probably weep tears of joy.
Manchester.
If I got to fly a Viper again. That I will gladly get slapped or weep. I don't care which one. But if somebody's like, hey, Mover, here's your F-16, FAM ride again, not FAM, sorry, Form 8, because you're getting checked out and you're in the front seat, weep. I'd weep.
Hey, I would cry too, man. Let's be honest.
Yeah. You cried
crying
when you
right
didn't
now.
fly the Block 3 Superhornet.
I'd cry if I got to fly the T-38 again.
And L, not to be confused with Anil. Yes, anything worth doing should be done right. Renee just says that. Thank you, Renee, to the Gonky. Janitor is back. All Finny flights should be in an F4 or Tomcat.
I cannot argue this. I'll take it.
Who knows? $5. Well, silly question. Could a STOL aircraft like X-Cub land take off from an aircraft carrier? Absolutely.
Yeah, what's that? Oh, yeah.
Without even trying.
Dude, 30 knots across the thing. I mean, you're just, what is that, like 10 knots?
Oh, yeah.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
170-foot takeoff for a 1,049-foot deck.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Take off again. Yeah. Spartan says, Pot Stirrer, we have heard Gonky versus Mover BFM when you guys were flying. What was Wombat's record versus Mover? We didn't have one.
Nobody beats Wombat.
Or Wombat's record versus Gonky. Did you guys ever fight each other?
Nope. No, he was a big time fleet guy when I was just I was stuck at the RAG as an IP. So
I was doing God's work.
Dude, since you're always looking for what's next, Wombat, I think what's next is a nice DCS setup. And being a rich captain like yourself, dude, it needs to be full motion. And
dude, I was watching
like
something
a level
on Instagram
3
the other day.
DCS setup.
Where have you seen the like the guy who, it's on Instagram, I'll try to find it, who built an F-16 simulator like full?
Yeah. That could be you, dude. You have the technology.
In so many ways, it cannot.
Yeah, dude.
You don't have to do a Viper. You could do a Hornet.
Mover.
I would do a Hawkeye, and I would just sit there.
Manchester.
And eat peanut butter sandwiches.
Manchester.
Mover. Wombat's kind of the XO in his ship, is what he's trying to say. So just like I am kind of the XO, even OPSO.
There are plenty of married dudes that do this.
I'll be honest with you. If I could even hold PXO level in this house, I'd be happy. And I'm not even there. So
yeah,
I'm outvoted by 2 children.
Nope.
JP says, great video, guys. Thanks, you.
JP.
We're running behind tonight. Jesse says, just started at ACC, did bad in high school, community college. Any advice on what I can do to secure an OCS slot? Thank y'all for the show, especially the mental health minute.
Keep applying.
Grades. Get good grades.
Good grades.
Fly.
Do they really care about your high school grades in OCS?
No. Good grades in the community college.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm like, because I did bad in college, and I still got in. So
work on your fitness too. Because
I graduated 2 from the bottom of my high school class. 2 from the bottom.
Do well on the testing.
That was close. Yeah, do well on the testing. That's right.
Bottom.
Zippers Forever says, sit back because the Jordanians are pissed. Is that King that flies still in there? Don't they have a King that doesn't he fly?
Dude, if I was the King of Jordan, I'd have my own fighter jet for sure.
Yeah.
No, I think he flies like a helicopter.
I might even let you in my
wingman.
squadron, Ruben.
Might.
Jordanian Vipers.
Yeah. So what you need is we need to get Gonky married off.
We need to overthrow a government and put Gonky in charge. That's what I'm hearing. Mod Man says got laid off last week. Damn, that sucks.
Oh man,
sorry, man. I'm 60 pounds overweight and don't want to look like a slob in interviews. Besides, stop eating. Any advice?
Cardio. Wombat and I would tell you, don't stop eating. Eat every 3 hours and get some exercise.
Wombat, this is your expertise.
Consistency. As somebody who's lost.
Oh yeah.
Consistency every day. Just every day.
Lost a whole Luna.
Allegedly, probably more now. Just be consistent. And then as far as interviews, I think it goes a long way. Professional appearance and confidence, fake it till you make it. You don't need the most expensive suit or whatever you would wear to your interview, but make sure what you have is tailored to your size now, you're clean shaven or not, or whatever applies to your job. I think one of the things I always say is like, go like you're going to the interview. You should be your best foot forward. And then every day after that, you want to still be there, but it's easy as a individual to kind of fall off that way. And so, consistency.
My man's on the so in the fighter world and mover and Wombat can agree. So like, walking out to there, the check-in, taxi out, take off, coming into the break, everyone's real nice and everything's, just somebody on the outside looking be like, man, you guys look great. But if you asked us, total mission failure, right?
Oh, facade.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of
So man, tighten down the best you can on the things that you can control, and just keep trying to improve. If it doesn't work the first time, try again.
Awesome. All right, moving on. Speaking of drones, drone cargo ops, Douglas.
Let me get that in front of us. Oh, you clicked on it and I clicked it off again. So you want me to read this one?
I'll just summarize it as we go again. That seems to work. So Mighty Fly has unveiled an autonomous cargo aircraft with a 600-mile range, but it only flies like 130 knots or 150 knots or something. But the thing is, they just got it approved. Yeah, there you go. 150 miles an hour, 130 knots. They just got it approved for special airworthiness certificate and certificate of authorization from the FAA to establish an air corridor between California's Byron Airport and New Jerusalem Airport up to 5,000 feet. They're expected to begin flight testing. It's an eVTOL, so electric, vertical takeoff or landing, and it's going to be used in manufacturing, retail, and healthcare, transform life in rural areas. And they even talk about, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a whole thing about it could also be used in the military for austere conditions. It's got a 100-pound capacity, bi-wing design, substantial trim of the aircraft's center of lift, structural conductors for reduced weight and improved reliability, composite structure, canard for the landing gear for reduced drag and increased efficiency. And then basically they plan to uncover uses for the Air Force along the way and scale this up for other. Gentlemen, this is the canary in the coal mine for cargo.
What does that mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. They also want to use autonomous loading, unloading. So not only are they going to fire the pilots, but they're going to have everybody who loads and unloads packages for the Air Force in 2025 for proof of concept.
Wow.
You don't know what a canary in the coal mine is?
It was a joke.
Send the canaries down, and if it died, don't go down there.
Don't go down there. Bad news.
We've talked about
sure
this
it's
a lot.
fine. I'm sure it's fine.
We've talked about this a lot, right? And this is, first of all, how you get Skynet and Terminators. So there's that. But second, we've talked about how this is going to scale. You're going to start in these hard to access areas. You're going to now have 100, because 130 miles an hour is not 150 miles an hour, 130 knots. It's not fast, right? You're not
like an airship.
You're not doing what most air cargo can do, but accessing areas that are not currently accessible is a big thing. And then when they scale it up, that's when you start to worry about these cargo operators, ACMIs, stuff like that, because like we talked about before, once the technology is there, it's just like an exponential, it just takes off. So what do you guys think? Is this kind of the, I mean, how worried are you if you're a FedEx or UPS guy?
Well, depends how old you are. I mean, really, it depends how old you are. I think it's still pretty far out. I mean, you've seen that with autonomous cars, right?
I was going to say the self-driving cars haven't been
we're not there yet.
I think it's easier to self-drive an airplane than it is a car, though.
Probably.
I think you're right.
Probably, but it still has to. Remember, all that thing becomes, if it goes haywire, as a 100-pound carrying projectile into some area where people live. And if that happens once, it sets it back way far. So
that's true.
I'm not saying that it's, because everybody looks at this stuff, in our industry and they're like, oh, it's not our problem because there's passengers, right? And with passengers, they want to see people up there, that have skin in the game. And I don't disagree, but that person living on the ground doesn't want stuff buzzing over their heads. If it's not, there's no skin in the game, right? I mean, think about it. So I think they're going to have to prove that concept really well. And then once they do, to scale this to something where it's actually usable, because 100 pounds at 150 miles an hour is not usable for true cargo, to where a FedEx or a UPS pilot's nervous. But then I think what you'll see is it'll go to single pilot ops on cargo first, with somebody kind of backing them up.
Yeah.
And then it may go to no pilot ops on cargo. And at that point, maybe it goes to single pilot ops and people haulers. And then, maybe one day in my career, I'd be surprised. But when I look at my 5-year-old and my 1-year-old, am I super excited about being like, you should be an airline pilot? Like, no, because I could see it in their lifetime. And
well, you know where you're going to see it for people is air taxis.
Yeah.
This big push for eVTOL for these air taxis, like order your air Uber
to get to the airport.
To get to the airport. Yeah. These helicopters are in huge
well, there's
danger.
literally there's a whole program at our airline that is run by a girl that was in my E2 squadron. Like, she went on to business school, and like, this is her whole baby about getting people from outside the airport areas into the airport. And
yeah,
it's a lot further along than you think, but I don't think it's in the main carrier yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying now. I think when you start looking at this tech, you're going, because I see it already. I've got a Skydio drone, which I love, by the way, but it's fully autonomous, dude. It recognizes me, and I've got the little beacon, and it'll follow me. And and if it gets lost, it knows where to go. It'll go land. Like there's so much scalable. Wingman.
Right. And there's so much scalable, but there you go. There's the Air Force use for this is, where can like a C-130 not get into, but you can drop 200 pounds worth of stuff to a special forces unit. You can go drop a 200-pound bomb, these small diameter bombs. I mean, like, there's so much, and we've already seen how much the battlescape has changed in Ukraine and even Israel, where these drones are crushing it. And dude, I think that's the way of the future.
Yep.
Something this one has that has been, those of us who've been doing drones a while, been watching for a long time, range. Electricity doesn't have much range. This is a hybrid. It's got a little engine in it that charges the batteries while it's in flight. I looked that up on this one because I wondered about the range.
Was it 200 miles? No, 600 miles. 600 miles. 600 miles.
That's a long extension cord.
That's a big deal. Yeah. Like you said, Mover, for austere environments, I'm like, they're Gonky, like in Malaysia and the South Pacific, where there's an airport every couple 100 miles, no roads.
Yeah,
targeting those kind of markets for this.
I'm more worried about when they start applying, because it's not just going to be a drone, right? They're going to be like, hey, we got this AI stuff too, so it's going to be AI with the drone. I don't want to go full Terminator, but I don't know. My perception on the whole AI stuff is like, once it reaches a certain point, like the learning curve is going to be.
Oh, dude, it's horrible already. Somebody was asking me about the next book, and I'm like, man, maybe one more, but I mean, AI is already writing books. I'm like, so now AI is going to put me out of business as an airline pilot and an author. Like,
it's just when you combine,
I need to go sell a Porsche.
When you combine AI, which I don't really nerd out on that stuff because I don't follow it. But when you combine, what I meant was, I don't really study that.
Didn't need to be. You're just digging the hole deeper. Everybody knows.
For those of you that are new to the channel,
Gonky not smart on things.
Gonky.
From what I have seen, like it's apparent to me that, like, no kidding, the AI stuff is happening, I think, faster than most people think. And when you combine that with the drone technology, I think it's going to get kind of sporty.
I, for one, welcome our AI overlords. Just like the aliens. Whichever one shows up first.
Yeah, you're on that team.
Ain't gonna be aliens. It's going to be Terminator, dude. The T-1000.
Well, they're not going to be assassinating me because I like them. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Don't kill me. All right, moving on. Speaking of cargo.
Sold out quick.
Yeah. Hey, man, it's just like you and your broke back.
Hey, I stand by what I said. Stand by what I said.
That was real. Hey, you've been real popular with the Indians, by the way. They
Oh,
love
really?
you. Oh, they love you. They
I
love
have
you.
not been watching. Is it bad?
Nah,
Wombat
my
is
book?
loved.
it's not that bad.
Wombat is
Is my
loved
book
by
sales
the,
tanking in India right
the
now?
India. Hey, seriously though, the C-160, Douglas, is there a video in this article, or do I need to go find it?
I didn't find a video. Oh wait,
There's
is
the
it?
people that are going to ask.
I found the
is
video.
Yeah, okay.
C-160?
Okay. So a C-160 is like a C-130, but 30 more. Make it big, sir. We went through these academics before.
Dang.
That's low.
Wow.
It's getting lower.
So it looks like single engine. You can see the yaw. Somebody needs to put a Buddha rudder in.
Was it? They were both spinning.
Maybe they didn't feather the prop. I don't know. Careful, man.
You really
This is
want
in
to get
Turkey.
into a prop conversation right
Turkey.
now with you two?
Oh, this is you. These are your people, Wombat. We didn't even one more time for
I
Wombat.
don't. Yeah, go back. I want to
This
see.
is pretty wild footage. I mean, these guys are. They're
Can you
basically-
pause it? Pause it right there.
Pause,
Okay, yeah.
pause,
One of
pause.
those.
They're in ground effect.
Those almost look.
Flaps are down.
Yeah, but those.
The left
it's
one's
definitely
not spinning like the
feathered.
right one,
Yeah,
which would make
and
sense
it's not-
because the right one he's yawing left. So
Yeah, but it's not feathered. Yeah, but remember, those are also counter rotating, so it's not going to affect it the same way.
Man, he's
Well,
in ground
he's
effect.
got he's yawing. He needs to put some step on the.
Is gear down? Are those wheels down?
No gear. Looks like maybe some flaps. I don't see much
Yeah.
rudder.
Yeah.
There's some RPM differential there, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's.
It's hard to tell with
definitely-
rolling shutter.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know
Yeah.
is stuck in the T cushion.
Well, they don't land on the airport, and that's kind of a problem.
Technique only. You can't teach that.
Well, it's on the runway. Sorry, right? They go off roading.
Oh, wheels up. Look at that. Well, it looks like survivable,
I mean,
which is good.
Oh, yeah.
Taxi's going to be a bitch, but other than that, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's fine.
All right.
Is
So
it
what's the
safe?
story, Douglas? Yeah, they went off roading here. Oh,
Yeah,
that
you're going to
wing
need to
doesn't
buff
look great.
that out. That's for sure.
Well,
That's,
the
Speed
Turkish
tape.
ship.
How many fasteners do you think that wing still has in it?
Not
half
enough.
as much
That
as it
wing?
came from the factory.
Not enough.
Not that
It's
way.
a C-160 Transall transport aircraft. Hit it, Doug.
C-160 Transall transport aircraft from the Turkish Air Force was compelled to perform an emergency landing during a routine training exercise in Kayseri, central Turkey. Owing to a technical malfunction, the incident unfolded as the aircraft was taking off from Kayseri 12th Air Transport Base Command for a scheduled training session on 25 January. The aircraft suffered minor damage. The
I'm
helicopter
going to
pilots-
say,
Little
I'm
tape.
going to go ahead and just assume that the Turkish Ministry of Defense was not a pilot. Is that fair to say?
helicopter pilots.
Dad Bob.
Yeah,
Remember, this is your video.
Yeah.
I mean,
I welcome all my turkey friends. Turkish.
I don't think
turkey-
they'd like to be called turkey friends.
the health
I
of the
spelled
pilots
it
and
in my
crew is
head the
stable.
right way.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Hey, go back to
Minor
that.
damage. The wing
Go-
is folded.
Go back to that picture, Doug, where it's sitting in the field.
What can we
Or
determine?
right there? So,
Prop strike.
having been a Navy safety school,
This
So
is
the-
not the landing you want.
Oh boy, here we go.
the left engine, and I can't remember it exactly, but see how the blades are curled at the end?
Yeah, because they hit the ground.
Well, right. Look at the other prop.
It didn't
Right.
hit the ground.
Did it? I don't know. It went.
It
through the
wasn't
field, right?
spinning, is where he's going with
wasn't
this.
Well, what I'm saying, so there's I can't remember if the props are curled a certain way, you can tell if the engine was running or not.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what I'm getting at here. So the left engine was definitely running. Was the right engine running?
Right.
I don't know. It doesn't look like it because I mean
But
they
it
crash
does look
landed it.
feathered there.
It does look feathered.
Well,
That's
it's
right.
got a full boot of left rudder.
Well, that's
Well,
after
that could just be. That's probably after the left wingtip dug into whatever ravine this is here and had minor damage.
Well, no, if the
I
left
mean, look,
wingtip digs in, you would go right rudder because you're like,
the bottom line is this: like, if the people are fine, that's all that matters. But wow, like that is,
and
they're lucky
anytime
they made
you
it to where they made it.
well, and if whatever problem they had happen on takeoff, so they're heavy and one engine. So I mean, I applaud these guys for making it back because that's
well. Hold on, before you say that, I need one final fact before I say whether I applaud them or not. Did they declare an emergency or say Mayday, Mayday, Mayday? Because that's all that matters.
How do you say Mayday in Turkish?
I'm sure they did.
It's Turkey. They're not commies. Okay. They're speaking English. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. So hey, good job.
Good for them. I mean, the fact that if everybody walked away.
Yeah, they can build another C-160.
This guy says landed but incurred heavy damage. So there's a little bit of difference between the Turkish Ministry of Defense and what the article's saying.
I'm going to go with
wait, go back up. The gear retracted. Scroll up real quick. Footage. Oh, it's gear retracted. Yeah, because they picked the gear up after the engine failure.
Yeah. Slick is better.
Slick better. Less drag. All right. Well, cool. Thanks for that, Douglas.
Yikes.
That was interesting. We got a couple from the audience, but we'll try to get through. Garrett, what scares me if a drone gets to a carrier?
Yeah. I mean, if anything gets to a carrier,
well, that was my actual most concerning comment as far as one getting through,
Well, that's what they used to train for, right? When we were out there, was we'd swarm them and then one would. Yeah. Anyway.
John Gilbert says super sticker.
Thanks, man.
DG says it's amazing things you learn talking to veterans. A World War II pilot told me that Patton had an order that any pilot shot down near him was to be brought to him. Who best to know where the Germans were at? Interesting.
Yeah. No, any kind of intel gathering.
Renee says, Wombat, how did that British airline pilot survive outside the jet? Grace of God?
What one is that?
The one where he was...
Oh, stuck. He got knocked out and they held his feet in. I mean, they got the plane down quick. So,
yeah. It's a good thing we're not more popular. Somebody would meme that. Zippers Forever says, unlike King Charles, he's been combat proven. He's seen combat as the crown prince. There you go.
Good for him.
Bob Smith says, canards. Okay, what's the deal with those things? Good, bad, ugly. Gives you the Hayaka.
I think they look cool.
Hayaka.
I think they
look cool. Depends. Like on a fighter jet, they're cool. Like on a Civic, they don't look very good.
No, you're right.
They're called
Typhoon.
Dive plane.
Oh.
On a car.
Oh,
like the ZL1 1LE and the Z06 have them, and they're badass. Yeah.
Canard.
Wombat, we didn't even get to talk about the Rolex 24, but we're out of time. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Did you watch it? The Mustangs were in there.
They did well, didn't they? Porsche did well too, didn't they?
No, they lost their trunk and some other stuff. I wonder what that cargo delivery will cost at startup. Good point. Is it an idea like you and me have, Gonky, that we could just use as a business and just not win?
I don't know, man. Yeah,
15 million.
The government will subsidize it. It's okay.
Riri says, can't buy into this being a good idea. Self-flying planes is just a bad idea.
Yeah, I think if most people actually could see some of the conversations that real pilots have up front, there's like, the joke is the plane flies itself. It does, but at the same time, there's
until it doesn't.
Right. So there's
What's it doing? What's it doing?
Right. That like I find myself saying that more than I like. And and then it takes two to figure it out sometimes, right? So, I don't know. We're definitely
it's because they put those dang Control-Alt-Delete buttons so far apart, you can't reach them. Like you need two people.
Nathan had said about the pizzas, and then AJS says most can fly themselves already, but they also have a pilot available also. Yeah. Riri says autopilot with person running is one thing, just completely toss out. Don't like the idea. Ethan says if Boeing drone, how long till door plug blows out?
Ethan, this is a valid concern.
Dude, Boeing's not sure. Boeing is the Gonky of airplanes.
No,
it's all outdated. They don't go tech. Like it's the same cockpit that their forefathers flew back when people were naturally shorter.
I'm a huge Boeing fan. It hurts me to see what's happening.
They'll eventually just be military contractors. That's
Yeah.
my theory on Boeing.
AJS
I really do.
says,
Probably.
what about semi-automatic aircraft? And
It's
that
already
makes flying
there.
easier for the.
Well,
that's how it is
about it.
already. Yeah, it's already how it is.
Yeah.
They're not
Janitor's
gonna be flying
back.
us to Phoenix tomorrow, that's for sure.
How do we know you three aren't AIs?
It's a great question.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
That's true.
This is all a simulation. Bob Smith
Wow.
says, "Hey, how'd you know Luna was there? I didn't even know." Hey, girl. It's
I
not
love
9
This is the
o'clock.
I love
producer's
the
job.
dirty look she's giving you right now.
It's my
It's
job
not-
to know
It's not
things.
9 o'clock. Welcome the AI overlord. Overlords. It's listening now. Better safe than sorry. Yes. Forgive me for what I've said to Siri. Kate Little Wolf says, "Don't worry. What soulless AI will never replace human authors. AI has no philosophy, no humor, no true creativity, and can't tell the truth or inspire." Sounds
That's
like a
true.
politician.
But I have seen some AI work. And
It's
it's
crazy. It's crazy.
like, man,
All of
Yeah.
Gonky's books were written by AI.
no.
true.
I have real people who do that, but like I use AI to help make some of the thumbnails.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Did the C-160 do a Mayday? Janitor would like to know. If not, can we call it an emergency?
We're looking into it.
All right. And then Sully's plane had some autonomous stuff, or rest my case. That was taken out by geese.
Well, no, dude, the autonomous stuff decided you don't need this engine and you don't need this engine.
Well,
So,
yeah,
hey,
a flock of birds went through both.
True.
speaking of Turkey,
Get it right.
they bought a crap ton of F-16 Block 70s. And before we move from that picture, Douglas, I wanted to point out that this is the stuff that all F-16 pilots everywhere used to dream about. And our dreams have become a reality. Look how many AMRAAMs are on this thing, dude.
That's a lot.
All
This
of the AMRAAMs.
is an 8x2 loadout, right? Am I mathing right? 4 on this side, 4 on this side,
Yeah,
and then
that's
2
8.
M9s.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. No, please.
Maybe like mover, don't get shot down because all the AMRAAMs we have from the base are on your jet.
Your 4 ship has all of them.
So
We are out. So you may shoot one per.
We're all
adversary.
in on this war.
Yeah.
hey, what's the stuff hanging on the cheek?
I can't
That's fuel
say that
tanks.
without going to jail.
No, not.
No.
I mean, are they?
Oh, down
That's
there,
a
down
lightning
there.
pod, probably the new lightning, and then
What's
it's
that
a
thing?
or a targeting pod and an HTS pod.
Oh, okay.
Are they tanks up top? What are those?
That's
those
the conformal fuel tanks.
Yeah. Interesting.
So extra gas. Although, yeah. So let's go to the article, Douglas, if we can, sir. If there is an article, because I had an article.
This is it. It's just a picture from Mover.
It's just a picture of Mover
Just
to
a-
reminisce.
You had an article on the F-16s?
Yeah.
Look at her
it was-
lines.
All I had was this Twitter.
so pretty.
How many that they
How
ordered?
Let me look.
Well,
Yeah.
Turkey got the F-16s, right? And then the other side of the story was,
Yeah, the AP.
yeah, the Greeks got the
Right. So
F-35, right? So that was the other
Yeah,
side of the
Czech
this-
F-35s.
or that, yeah. Did I get that right?
yeah, you got it right. You got it right. So the Turkey F-16. So they allow the sale of F-16 to move forward. But meanwhile, here you go. U.S. approved sale of the F-35 F-16s to Greece. I got it, Douglas. We'll talk about
I'm
the
glad
check here.
because
in a
you can hear me clicking trying to find it.
yeah.
This really surprises me. I did not think that. I'm
Uh,
surprised that there's a deal between the U.S. and the.
No, and so the Turks and the Greeks do not like each other. NATO partners, but they do a lot of the GNC dogfights. And is that MSB Akar? Is that what that says? MSB?
Yeah.
So this is all happening. $23 billion in F-16 sale to Turkey, along with $8.6 billion sale of F-35s to Greece. So they gave, I guess Turkey's getting their own indigenous F-35-ish thing that we've covered before.
Mhm.
Also, Gonky made all of Turkey mad, calling it a little country. It's not a little country. It's very, very.
So wait,
Massive.
is that 23 billion F-16s and 2 F-35s based on those cost numbers?
Pretty much.
So it's 40 F-16s to modernize 79 of its existing fleets, and then 40 F-35 Fat Amy's.
Wow.
They wanted to upgrade. There was a thing about what they have, but basically these new Vipers are ESA radar, fully upgraded HTS pods, AMRAAMs, AIM-9X. I think it was AIM-120C8.
Pretty much everything you ever wanted.
Yeah. So yeah, dude, I'm just looking at it going, I want this.
Yeah.
It's the old meme about, Lord, I see what you're doing for other people, and if you can give that to me. But they didn't stop there on approving the sale. They also, the Czech government, Czechia, gets 24 F-35s, which now that strengthens the European outlook, and NATO, not specifically NATO, but the area,
right,
in the Russian conflict. How many did they get? 24? Did it say what the year was, the timeline, Doug?
For the F-35?
Yeah, how long? Because it's not instant. It's a while. 2030.
Yeah. None of this stuff is.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people talk about. Thanks, Doug. I've seen a lot of people talk about all of these orders. It's great for Lockheed Martin. It's great for our economy, right? Because Greenville, now that factory is going to gen up 40, and they're going to need people to test fly. Just saying, I'm here.
You buy 2035 mover, you'll be.
Yeah, no, but they got to build them now. They got to start now if they're going to get 40 of them. 2035 was the Fat Amy's. This is a lot sooner.
I got you.
Block 70s, but it still takes a while to build them. I mean, they're not fast. So you got that. It's good for the economy. But in a region now that is becoming a hotspot, dude, I mean, I just thought it was interesting that the Turkish military gets F-16s, and the Greeks are going to get F-35s.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it most definitely has to do with the whole S-400 thing, in my opinion.
You think so? Yeah. Still that.
Yeah. I don't really think I'd be surprised if their own 5th gen airplane had anything to do with it. I think it's probably, like I said, more from the air defense stuff they bought. But yeah, it surprised me too. I mean, I don't know.
You guys have covered it.
So it's funny because I've covered a lot of their engagements, either with the Mirage and the Turkish Viper, or the Viper versus Viper. It'll be interesting to see if you start seeing the F-35 versus the F-16.
Oh, I'm sure. Man. 100%.
I mean, it's one of those things where they mix it up, but nobody's like, they're not shooting. It's just a, we don't like you. I hate you. I hate you. Mix it up a little bit. The pilots probably don't care. They're like, woo, let's go.
Yeah, it's probably a good time.
Yeah. I mean, I think a Viper going to have a good time against the F-35 just for that. Just doing that stuff.
Yeah, it's not going to be, all right, let's start this at 100 miles away.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah. But no, real cool. Lots of movement. And it's interesting that they're announcing this like all right after, one after the other.
Yeah, I've said it 1,000 times, like the whole escalatory, de-escalatory stuff, like it troubles me having young kids, like it's like everybody's gearing up, right? I don't like that. I don't like my spidey senses don't like what I feel and sense going on in the world, whether it's Ukraine or in Middle East or whatever, man. It just seems, and it's it has come on just the last couple of years. I mean, it irritates me because all three of us spent 20 years, in a conflict, and then it seems like, oh, thank goodness that's over. I mean, it didn't end well, but at least it was over. Yeah. And then here we go. It irks me. I'm sorry.
What about the European, the Chechnya? You know, I mean, people have said, well, that'll help against the Russians. Well, 2035 is not soon. So by the time that happens, the global landscape's changed.
Sure.
Yeah, we all need to listen to Rocky's speech at the end when he beats the Russian. I mean, come on, you know. I'm serious, man.
I
Like,
thought you were going to reenact it. Okay.
no, I did watch it the other day. It's really good.
Yeah.
For a guy that's got his face beaten in, he speaks a lot of truth, and that was from an era of Cold War, right? We're like, we're gonna nuke one another, and everyone's gonna be dead, right? I mean, that's eventually, if you keep escalating, that's the most escalatory thing you can get to.
Yeah, but right afterwards, it de-escalates immediately.
Immediately, right? Because the you know, I don't know, man. I just, yeah. Sorry, get off my soapbox. I'm getting old.
Well, in other news, a fighter wing has requested that the people stop. Sorry, Doug. Stop aiming laser pointers at its aircraft. The UK-based fighter wing said this activity poses a serious threat to flight safety. It's not the first time the U.S. military has been forced to ask the public to stop doing this. Is this Lakenheath? Is that what it says? Scroll up, Doug.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know that the caption is, but is that where it's happening?
I think
U.S.
so.
fighter wing, it doesn't say, but UK, I mean, that would have to be Lakenheath. So apparently people are lasing. Yeah, Lakenheath. They're lasing the Strike Eagles and the F-15s. And it's also a problem other places. Kirtland was one example. Here in the U.S., it's a big problem. And you'll see a lot of videos on YouTube where they'll laze police helicopters, and the police helicopters will talk the other cops onto them and then arrest them. But the problem is it's very hard, or difficult, I should say, to find said person when they do this, because, you know, airliners, you know, it's very hard to mark a position and know where it's coming from and stuff. I could see like a Strike Eagle being able to pinpoint coordinates, you know, because they can maybe able to use their helmet, you know, but they're risking their eyeballs when they do that because they're looking right into the thing that's dangerous for them. We've talked about this before. Wombat, why do you think it's such a big deal?
Well, I mean, it's the safety aspect to the public, right? I mean, have you guys ever been lazed? Like, it can jack you up pretty bad, like to where you can't see. And I mean, I'm not the world's greatest pilot, but I do a heck of a lot better when I could see. So, I mean, you know, we were on approach into DC and helicopter got lazed right below us. Like, and you guys have flown that approach. Like, that's not an approach you want your pilot to be blind, you know? So there's a huge factor there. It's just dumb. It's people not, you know, it goes to a world that we live in now where people don't have consequences for their actions. They think something's cool and they think something's funny, and they don't realize the lives they're putting at stake, both in that airplane, on the ground. I mean, plane's got to go somewhere if it ain't going to fly, right? It's, you know, so, and the damage you're doing to the individuals in that flight deck. I mean, I don't care what kind of plane it is, military, civilian. I mean, you could take a guy out or a girl out to where they don't fly ever again, depending on how they get hit with a laser. So
my thing is like, what, you know, if you're on the ground with the laser, what is your objective?
Yeah.
Lasing an airplane.
Well,
there's only one, you know, and it's not, I mean, I don't know. I agree with Wombat. It's like, man, there's only one reason you're doing this. I mean, it can only lead to bad. Like, nothing good can come from this, right?
Yeah. You're not like, I like this airline, so I'm going to laze their jet so people see their branding. Like, that's not what they're doing this for.
No.
Like,
Well, that's my point. Is this a form of terrorism?
Potentially.
Because
I mean,
if you go look at some of the protest videos, there's an Apache. Like, you can go find this video where they're over protesters, and like 1,000 lasers from the crowd, they pointed at it, and it lights up little green dots all over it.
Man, that's a
Really?
bold move out of the Apache.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine the Apache also has a much more powerful laser. Just saying.
But that's what I'm saying, though. So, you know, especially in a place like UK, that has had issues, you know, in certain areas with, I mean,
dude, you can shoot an airplane with a laser and you can shoot an airplane with a gun, and both can have the same effect, right? I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, are you, the question is, and it goes back to what I'm saying is like, why would you ever shoot your laser at, it's not like, I wonder how far away that airplane is. I'm going to get some laser ranging. No.
Where are these people's parents? That's what I want to know. Where are the parents?
They're adults. I think they're adults. I mean, these aren't kids doing this.
I could still ask where their parents are.
That's true.
Yeah.
Valid. 100%.
I mean, I've done some dumb things in my life. Yeah. I've never thought, you know what would be fun?
Yeah. What do you think, Mover? Like, I mean, do you think it's terrible?
I am concerned that this is more than just people goofing off. You know, sometimes you see nefarious intent for what it is.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know, if it's a cheap way to try, you know, doesn't have to be successful.
This might be the next way to use an airliner or aircraft, if you will, as a...
I'm not saying it would. I'm just saying it might be a misguided effort to create problems. You know, I mean, what's the defense? Laser eye protection, right? I mean, is that the next step? You know, because if you can't arrest them because you can't find them, then you have
give us lasers back.
Well, a strike eagle has lasers back.
Yeah.
All you need to do is laze somebody on the ground until they turn into pink mist, and all of a sudden nobody's lazing airliners anymore. I promise you that. Just one dude.
No, well, that's two. No, we don't know. There's no consequences, man.
Yeah.
You get a little, and then
we used to carry laser eye protection when we do nighttime.
We did,
I
remember that.
Nighttime ops.
Yeah, mine were in my bag when I got lased. It was awesome. So,
that didn't even good.
Yeah, there you go. All right, moving on to, we'll get to the chats here in a minute. Gonky, this is something you wanted to bring up with our special guest
Wombat. So we talked last week, 2 weeks ago, about the A350 that lands on the Dash 8, and I had mentioned a video about you know, hey, even military aviation, right? Even on a carrier, something like this can happen. Like, it's essentially a massive runway incursion. So this happened in '98, and man, just make it big and let it play. After the collision, man, you can stop it because the fireball lasts for a while. But go ahead, man, hit. There you go.
503-707, hook up dispatch.
Yeah. And you can see the
calls, I think, right?
Yeah, Carrier Enterprise, I think. You see the F that's flashing as PAL deck. I mean, you know, if you're sitting in the wardroom eating a cheeseburger, just watching the recovery, you know, like, hey, it's PAL deck. That means probably the S3 still in the LA.
Who runs the camera?
There's a
listed whole cadre that does it, and there's more than one camera. I mean, there's
a couple different angles, but yeah, so it's still foul deck, right? And the prowler's still coming. So I mean, ideally, timing wise, you should be out of the LA by now.
Roger ball, 27 knots.
It's not unheard of to still be a foul deck at this point in the past, though.
Right.
But not for a plane in the landing area.
Right, because you can still wave them off at this point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Easy.
But you see the flash and F. I mean... Right.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so unfortunately, everyone on the Prowler died. Thanks, Doug. And
oh my God,
I think one or two in the S3 survived. But I was curious, Wombat. I watched this video a couple times, kind of thinking through, kind of what happened here, because you and I obviously flew in the Navy post this accident. But so every time I was coming aboard the ship at night, it's almost impossible for me to fly the ball and to just look at the landing area like, hey, is anybody there? Right? There's not enough light. Right. So in the E2, I was curious, and I don't know what the duties are. Right. I don't know what the duties were in the Prowler because both these airplanes were multi-crew. But like in the E2, did you guys was one of the checks that the non-flying pilot made is the landing area is clear?
No.
And could you even see? I don't, if you,
I mean, some nights, sure. I mean, you've flown the old skipper moon recoveries where you could see the whole deck and, or a big moon, but no, for the most part, you can't tell.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it was like in a Prowler because that's not a pilot sitting in the right seat. I can tell you in the Hawkeye, whenever I was in the right seat, I was scanning just as much as I would have been if I was at the controls.
Okay.
Because if anything went wrong, I wanted to be able to help, quickly.
Right.
But the there's no, it's just too dark. It has to be, what I mean? There's no lights on. It's
yeah. And they hammer into us meatball lineup angle attack, right? And overwhelmingly to trust the LSOs. So, that brings, and having operated on the carrier. So how many guys are on the platform? Like is there a minimum amount of?
Yeah, well, it depends. So it like every good Navy answer, right? It depends. So there was times where I was up on the platform with just CAG paddles because of some sort of an emergency or something like that.
Okay.
But that's not the norm. That's hey, we're clearing the flight deck and we want min people up there, right? And we would brief it. I remember briefing with my CAG paddles when I was a team lead, and he's like, dude, this is different. Like, this is different. If anything feels weird, wave them off, get them out of here because we don't have the backup. He even called the air boss and told the boss, like, hey boss, we don't have a lot of people down here. So if you see something, wave them off, get rid of them. Right. So, but that's very abnormal. Normal ops, you're going to have 5 to 6 people up there. You're going to have a guy or girl in the pickle who's controlling the glide slope of the aircraft, the up and down. You're going to have usually the team lead or assistant team lead is on the backup. So they're also watching glide slope, but they are also primarily watching center line. You have CAG paddles out there who's watching everything. You have somebody that's job is solely to write the passes and record the passes. And then there's somebody whose job is solely to make sure that the deck is clear. And I get a lot of comments as an LSO because you'll see pictures, right, of planes going by the LSO platform, and there's a guy looking the wrong direction, right? Well, that person, their job is to look that direction. Like,
yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
They own that foul line basically,
day and night, day or night, right? Yeah,
yes.
And like for those that don't, there's a no kidding line painted on the carrier. And I don't know how would you guys see that? Could you see it at night?
You would see it. Yeah, you could see it. And because when you're standing right there, it's very obvious. So but yeah, it was, and that was one of the hardest positions because you want to look at the plane.
Yeah.
You're the new guy up there and you're like, I want to watch the plane. I want to learn how to wave an aircraft. But you have to face back for forward.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you're watching, there's an LSO that's looking to check the LA. And then there's obviously deck crewmen that are also checking to see that the deck is not fouled, which means there's, everything is clear for landing. And I guess my next question, because, that broadcast is throughout the entire ship, so like potentially 5,000 people were watching the flashing F, just like we just did. Who is the LSO the only one? I mean, who could have, so the
air boss could have done it. The skipper of the ship could have come over and said it.
Okay.
Over the radio. I mean, just as much as you were taught to trust us as LSOs, that if we said wave off, like and I've had it, Nasty did it to me once. Nasty Manazar came over. He's like, wave them off, paddles, wave them off. And you just pull the button, and I had no idea why, but he saw something. I forget what it was. And they were out of there because he's up, in his vantage point. So, but he'll say that over the 5MC, and trust me, I mean, you've heard the 5MC. Like, you're not hearing that on the flight deck. I don't care how loud it is. So there's a lot of different people. I mean, this is the Swiss cheese model. It's all lining up, unfortunately. I think one of the things that they really focused on at LSO school, all the times that I went there for this, was obviously knowing who's doing what job, backing each other up, working as a team was important. But then also, anybody can call the wave off. Newest guy, girl can call the wave off. And also, don't get compartmental. You gotta. CQ is a tough time to wave, dude. Like, it is a tough, because it just never freaking ends. I mean, it is just, and it's busy, right? Because you have, especially fleet CQ, you have a bunch of different aircraft coming down, right? And typically, like when I was an E2 guy, I would wave the E2s, right? So we'd be switching jobs, right? Because it's my guys or my girls. So it's like, well, let me wave them. Okay, I got it. Cool, we got this. Okay, now I'm like, all right, who's next? You got it. I'm going to read the pass. So you're constantly switching jobs, and it goes on forever. I mean, you remember how long some of the recoveries were at night in normal cyclic ops,
right?
With CQ, I mean, as soon as the sun went down, you were doing that for 6 hours straight.
Did they change? So you went to LSO school, they said. Did they change any of the procedures or anything?
I think they did change a lot. They focused a lot more on the both the individual roles of the LSOs and then the role that the enlisted member up on the platform does as well, as far as the gear lens set, whatever, for whatever aircraft. And, some of the ways that they're calling for foul deck, vice clear deck, and the wave off windows and things like that. They got modified.
Awesome.
So,
Mover, have you ever seen that footage before?
No.
Yeah, pretty crazy, huh? Yeah.
That was my goal as an LSO, is to never recreate that. Like, that's what I told my team too. Like, every time we went out to the boat, I would get my team together when it was my team, and I'd play that video, and I'm like, if we do anything at this at sea period, let's not recreate this period.
Yeah, it happens even, it's aviation, right? It happens anytime, man, you got airplanes converging to all land or take off. That's the highest threat environment: day, night, ship, land, airliner, Navy jets, Air Force jets. It does not matter. But yeah, Mover, you got anything?
No.
Any takeaways, comments, concerns?
Scary is what that is.
It is scary, man.
Night.
What?
I may have missed it. Why were they still there?
I think they had an issue with something in the S3 that they couldn't get them out of the LA for whatever reason, whether it was like a nozzle steering issue or something, or they got hung up. Well, they didn't get hung up on the hook, because you saw the wire come back with the camera. Like, that's why they focus on that, is to show what wire it was that the S3 caught. But there was something that got them.
I just can't imagine sitting there and all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the wherewithal to eject,
No.
Well, what would you eject into? You're ejecting.
Well, that's
and then the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is, it's like, well, because I've heard this argument too, where they're like, well, they heard the prowler call the ball. Well, they probably didn't, because dual frequencies. So you remember, button 15, button 17. So they'd switch every other aircraft up a different frequency. So when you're on the ball, nobody's talking. It's all about spacing behind the ship. So it's quiet when you're flying that last mile. So they had no idea that plane was coming.
Yeah. Yeah. But the ship has them all brought up for the recording.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why you hear it. So
yeah, dude, around the Mover, like around the, it's strange, man. It's like holy water around the ship. And like, there's just certain things like they train you to do, and like they're just like, you just don't deviate. You're like, you trust this person with your life, you trust this voice with your life. Like, if Air Boss tells you something, you react. Gonky, jump off the ship, I'm jumping. Like, you don't
100%.
You don't ask,
100%.
you don't question. Like, you're taught to just do. And that's like, within like, was it 7 miles of the ship?
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I remember the scariest thing as an LSO I did in the training command is, we had, I think I told you guys this, we had a new student on his first cat shot, pulled the T45 stick full aft on the cat stroke.
Oh,
and
nice.
I mean, he did the full Cobra off the end, and somebody on the radio just yelled eject. And I was like, oh, and I thought we were going to see 7 canopies blow of students in the pattern, and just everybody, because there was no directive of like who. Now the good news is
holding.
nobody did. Oh, dude, there was four T-45s in the pattern. I fully expected to turn around and watch every one of those canopies below.
Yeah.
The funny part is nobody ejected, to include the guy that went off the bow and his
survived,
rad out
right?
with him. He did. He flew away. He had like 12 feet on his rad out and flew away.
Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah. Sad. Some of those guys didn't make it.
Yeah. You just have to learn from it. And I think naval aviation has applied, lessons learned to that. That's all you can, unfortunately, hope for.
All right.
Cool.
Just to catch up with the audience real quick. Zippers Forever says Turkey was a launch customer for the F-35, bought the S-400, got kicked out of the team. Now Greece is getting the F-35. MW says, hi guys, sorry for the dumb question. When y'all say skipper, what exactly is that position? That's the dude that Gilligan is his buddy. Commander and top person on the boat.
Yes.
It's funny because in the Navy it depends, right?
Right.
Like, because you'd call this commanding officer of your squadron the skipper sometimes.
There's squadron skipper. There's boat skipper. Like when I was in the Hornet, I was the skipper of my Hornet because it was just me.
Exactly.
But you're not the skipper of your house.
No, not the skipper of my house. No. So basically, the skipper is the top
whoever's in
leader
charge of whatever you're talking about.
Of that organization.
That's all it is.
Also known as commander in the Air Force, right? Am I getting that right?
Probably. KMC says, I'm a little late, so forgive me. Have you seen Masters of the Air? No.
I saw the trailer. I feel like I'm watching Elvis Fly B-17. Yeah.
There's a lot of CGI.
Yeah.
Cluterus.
Hey, man, thanks.
All the information in the world in their pocket, yet the ignorance to not know, to not laser.
Yeah. That's true.
Garrett says the Czech government just bought AH-1Zs, getting all new equipment.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Zippers Forever says U.S. Customs assisted in tracking down several laser incidents at LAX in Ontario, and they were all beer drinking adults thinking it was cool.
Wow.
Stupidity knows no bounds.
Wow.
Hey, Garrett says, why would they not just wave off the Viking?
The Viking was on the deck.
Yeah, the Viking was.
Why would they not just wave off the other one then?
Well, they should have. I mean, that's what came out of it. It was a foul deck. They should have waved him off.
And then there's I'm about to say there's a wave off window. Like once they get
at some point, once you're inside, especially the Prowler was
right.
I mean, the
window's
Charlie
like 2 miles out.
No, the Prowler had some power because remember it has big wings.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So big wings. Like the Hornet was the one that always scared me, right? Because
scared me
too. Those little we never worked together, but your Hornet passes scared me. We talked about him in LSO school. Just kidding. But no, the Hornet was the one you had to really, really watch because if the person got back on the power curve and it was in close. I mean, and I've seen some like 5 wet Super Hornets the same way because they're so heavy.
Yep.
Prowler wasn't too bad, but everything has a wave off window.
Yep.
I mean, at some point, it's almost better not to wave them off. Not in this case, but there were times with pitching deck and stuff where we would accept the fact that I knew there was no chance they were going to catch the wires, but they would at least hit the deck and get back airborne. It was worse to try to, because I mean, we've had some long wave offs. I'm sure you've seen that, Gonky, where they miss everything and they just keep coming down ahead of the ship, and then you hope they fly away. So.
Kate says, work for NAS would be tears, all those lives. Yeah. All right, moving on to Gonky. There was a hard landing for a sky bus.
Yeah. So this just happened. Like, and this kind of surprised me because, I've landed a Hornet hard enough to break the landing gear and have to get towed out of the LA. And that physically hurt me. But it didn't require me to go to the hospital. So this thing, and I'm surprised the airplane is not damaged. It landed so hard that six people ended up going to the hospital for injuries. Is that what it said? Yeah, six passengers and crew, which to me is crazy. I mean, Wombat, have you in the world of Airbus, have you ever heard of such a hard landing?
Yeah, well, first of all, let's not talk. I have to fly to Phoenix tomorrow. Like, don't put this on me as like. Remember that time Wombat came on and was like, "There's no way to hard land an Airbus," and then the next day he bounced one in Phoenix. Like,
no,
please don't do that.
30.
The difference of what you're referring to, I think, is number one, you are strapped into a fighter jet when you hit on a fighter jet that has a very forgiving landing gear. And number two, the moment arm of where you hit. So think of that.
All
so,
valid. But what I'm getting at is I mean, I've had some firm landings in the airline.
Same.
And
not
I just can't.
Not
but
me,
you know,
never.
yeah, but and you know, the flight attendants will come up and make fun of me. But like, there's a massive difference between like what we would consider like, man, that was a pretty hard landing, to people having to get carted out. And I'm just curious if you've ever, I've never heard of a scenario like where the airplane was, these guys taxied off, you know, went to the.
I mean, I have heard of people getting injured. Not in any of mine.
Of course not.
You know, well, yet, knock on wood. That's it. VFO is flying to Phoenix tomorrow. It's just, if he's watching, he better get a good night's
heading
sleep.
home. Like, how do you get back?
No, he's flying us back as well. But I mean, I've had some firm ones initially, and I mean, the kind of running joke is like, well, I never dropped the masks, so it couldn't be that bad, because that was the thing. Like, I guess like MD-88s and stuff, if you hit hard, all the masks would drop, which seems unfortunate.
Would you consider 17 knots gusting up to 25? Now, granted, I don't know if that was direct crosswind or what, but would you consider those windy?
Blustery? No,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't either, man. Not in a big jet like that, but. You know,
I mean, dude, when we landed in Keflavik coming in, it was, you know, 30 plus knots.
Scroll up again. Go to the hold on.
But I mean, you don't know. I mean, this is
right,
an article. Like, who knows how accurate those numbers are?
All the way to that picture.
I don't think that's the airplane.
We don't know. That's not a stock photo.
Well, hold on.
Yeah,
No, I'm just curious now, Wombat. How come that doesn't have the raccoon eyes that yours had?
Because it's a different airline.
It's not a Neo.
I thought just the
it is a Neo, but
the A350 had the raccoon eyes. Explain the raccoon eyes to me.
It's just, I don't know, dude. It's how they come. I don't
order. You built these airplanes. Like, what?
I don't.
Thought you were in charge of Airbus.
Do they have a better landing gear for soft?
That one looks like it's bent by itself. Look at it. It's bent forward.
That's a design bend, mover.
It's a feature.
Respect the Airbus.
I'm the operator in the box, not the guy who designed it. I think we all know that about me. I've never been a systems guy. Okay.
The man in the box.
No, man, that's
yeah.
I think that looks cooler, but I
like that personally.
It looks like it's from Kiss.
Yeah. So therefore it looks cooler.
Yeah.
So I had one I'll never forget. I had when I was pretty early on. It was a fairly firm landing. I have done worse since. And I had a woman exiting, and she made the comment like, wow, that was a really hard landing, or that's the hardest landing I've ever felt. And I don't know why I said what I said. Probably because there's zero filter, but I was like, yeah, we're all just passengers for the last 10 feet. And she walked off, and like 3 people behind her were in tears laughing so hard. And I remember the captain being like, yeah, don't say that. Like, I was like, I thought everybody knew. Like,
it's in God's hands the last 10 feet. I just let go.
I mean,
it
is what
that's
it
a
is.
joke.
Dude, we all
That's
have a bad landing in us, you know, conditions. The thing that bothers me is like, my favorite day to fly is when it's super bumpy below 5,000, but the winds are right down the runway, because everybody in the back is like, oh my God, this landing's gonna be horrible. And as long as you don't smack it on, they're like, thank you for saving us. The worst day in the world is when it's super smooth all the way in and sunny, and you're just like, bam. You're like,
yeah,
it's the worst.
It's all me.
So yeah, that was on me. So.
Mover reattacks, sir.
2 things.
Yes, sir.
One,
we're not all just passengers for the last 10 feet.
Well,
so we cover that.
I mean, it's a whole new world, right? Where you can land and send somebody to the hospital. I mean, that kind of sucks. Because when you fly a fighter, it's just that landing sucked, but nobody saw it. It's just me. That's great. Yeah. But you go into this world and you get the feedback from the passengers. And I don't know about your airlines, but it's customary to say goodbye to the passengers.
Yeah, of course it is.
And
unless it's a bad landing,
my
shut the door.
My best/worst landing story of that was when I was still new, and we flew a brand new 737, not a MAX, just an NG, to Dallas, right? And I've probably told this story before. I landed, smoothest landing. I mean, you didn't even know we touched down. Like, it was just
you surprised yourself.
Yeah. You're just like, oh God, did we land? Are we still flying? Yeah. And like the weight on wheels is not even working because it's so great.
So good.
So the captain's like, hey, you want to try your luck going into West Palm, to make it 2? And me being who I am, I'm like, of course.
Roll the dice.
Of course. And we come in and Rookie. Dude, I mean, it was like, welcome aboard, and he's like, all right, well, go take credit for it, And so I go stand out there, and I'll never forget this woman, like she's waddling down the aisle because it's West Palm, right? A lot of snowbirds. And she's got this New
Not
York.
That there's anything wrong with waddling.
Brooklyn accent. She looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God, I thought we were in LaGuardia." Because LaGuardia is typically a hard landing, a firm landing, because it's a short runway. You want to get on the ground at Brick 1 and land. And this was not. This was West Palm, where it was, infinite amounts of runway and everything. So lesson learned on that one. Cash out when you can. Don't try to double down on a good landing.
I love it.
But see, so all I heard from that story is if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, wait, we're not in LaGuardia?
Yeah, where do you think we are? Of course we're in LaGuardia. Where did you think?
Layover's in LaGuardia, so
you never get comments from the Victoria's Secret model coming down the aisle. It's always Anyway. All right. Moving on. Eddie says, can you please describe what goes into a carrier brake landing? Gonky previously mentioned requesting the carrier brake at airports. All carrier brake videos on YouTube are on the boat. Thanks.
Yeah. So not every airport will give it to you.
The good ones will.
That's true. Standard is 1,500 feet, something like that. You come in and ask for the carrier, and if they give it to you, 800 feet, just like at the ship, right out to the hood, 800 feet, and you just come into the overhead pattern. It's a just a VFR brake to a landing. I've had before. I flew in Akron, Canton many years ago, and I asked for the carrier, and they gave it to me. And then they asked me what I was doing as I was in the brake, and then they freaked out.
You gave it to me. It's your fault now.
Well, yeah, I was like, man, don't give me the carrier if you don't know what it means. But anyways, a little misunderstanding, but it was all good. But yeah, it's a Navy thing.
Yeah,
and most even some of the Air Force bases won't give it to you.
Shocking.
Yeah. Oh no, Eglin wouldn't. We ask many times.
My last flight, bro. Come on, one more.
All right, so moving on for our DCS dogfights. We've got something special for you.
We do. So Mover had this great idea of. I'll give you the credit, Mover. It was your brainchild. I'm not
Go
sure
ahead.
how I'm
No, you've already started talking. Continue talking.
Well, hey, it was basically we did Hornet versus MiG-29. Why did we only do one set? Were we that tired?
I think we were tired. Yeah, because we tried it at first. So we went out and did this DCS on one day. We did a marathon of like 6 hours worth of neck straining DCS goodness.
Yes.
And we started out, we were going to go flanker. We were going to go like through the Russians, like 4th gen down to 1st gen. And when we got to the MiG-29, I couldn't get the afterburner to work. Like no matter what I did, the afterburner wouldn't light. So we went and did this fight, and it was
pretty accurate, actually.
it wasn't great. So we knocked it off and then we just skipped it. And then at the end, I'm like, hey, I've got the afterburner working. You want to try one more? And I think at that point we were just so tired of looking at pixels in a headset that we're just like, that's fine.
Right.
So we did the one set.
Yeah. So we had this idea. Hey, man, you really fought the MiG-29. I made a video about it a couple years ago, and he's like, why don't we compare? You know, because it always, I don't know, at least mover for us, I always feel like people want the comparison. What's the real compared to DCS? Because everybody, what they want, you know, the DCS fanboys, we love DCS, but DCS fanboys, what they want to hear is, oh, it's just like the real thing. Yes, you would be the greatest fighter pilot in the world because you are amazing in DCS. I mean, right?
Send all hate mail to
Gonky's channel.
Rod Hartstock.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it was a great idea. So I went and looked at our DCS footage, and then I looked at my real footage, and I was trying to draw similarities where I could compare the two. And the only similarity I could draw was how I fight, because Mover in the MiG-29 was fighting Western style, I'll say, and somebody who clearly Mover has flown the Hornet, so he knows how it likes to fight. And then fighting a real MiG-29 pilot who was taught to fight like a MiG-29 fought very differently. So there was no real direct comparison, but the one constant was me, and that was get him slow, one circle. And
I voluntarily did it because plot twist.
Well,
I'm Western trained.
Right. So, and that's because Wanda would agree with me, and Mover will too, having flown the Hornet. The strong point in the Hornet is the slow speed one circle flight. So that's the game I always try to get my opponent to play. And Mover tries that in the MiG-29, and you know the MiG-29 doesn't do that as well, right? So the real MiG-29 pilot, he knows he's got superior thrust to weight. Granted, I was in a 2-bag Hornet when this happened, but I digress. Let it play, and I will commentate. It's quick, rather quick. So that starts out with Mover and I basically in the flats here, and he's offensive in a MiG-29. Big surprise, right?
I'm good.
All right. So I just do, because I'm cheating using the HUD, the helmet mount sight, I'm just holding 35 alpha like I would for real. And you can see already, right, he's starting to flesh out in front of me. And here's the third iteration.
Yeah, this is about when I tried to do the override thing and departed.
Too late, right? So he flushes out in front because I am playing the one circle game, and there Cornwallis takes half a belt of 20 Mike. All right. And then it steps to the real footage. And I can't remember his call sign, but this MiG-29 pilot was taking me to circle. And it's a little bit harder, so I use the footage from my video, which circles the MiG. So there he is, and this is actually the first time he flew out in front of me, but we kept the fight going. So I actually took a snapshot here, a little rangy, as Mover would say. We have a really wide left to left. Okay, so he's 2 circle over the shoulder, and then instead of turning across his tail, I give up a bunch of turning room, right, and continue my 1 circle flight. You can see the heavy vapes coming off, and it works out because he's probably doing 9 Gs, arcing around, and you can see there he is out in front of me. I did a 90, and then like he did a 270 right around me, but he flew out in front of me, kind of thing. So, yeah, and then there he goes, and that was it. We were a D model and a MiG-29. They run out of gas pretty quick when you put them in.
Below the hard deck does not count.
I wasn't below the hard deck, but I thought it was
just for a minute,
just for a second, just to see how it feels.
I saw the shot. There was no danger.
Do I need to go back?
Took it.
No, we were way above the hard deck. But you know, I could only do this fight because we were at altitude. You know, if you watch the real video, it plays a little more of it. And because of having 2 bags, the only way energy wise I could even play, you know, execute the game plan I did is because I had altitude to go down, and he would come down with me, which was kind of a mistake. But I didn't tell him that, of course. But I thought, you know, comparing the DCS fighting and the real life stuff, I mean, the pilot definitely makes a difference because it was the same airplane, but you know, 2 different fights. You know, Mover was was doing the one circle game with me, and he, you know, I don't know, Mover. What do you think? I mean,
if I could have, so I did get some rounds on you on that one, and if I could have continued, that would have been a fairly quick kill. The problem is I can't gun, so you know, once you figured out where your bearing was, you know, did what you had to do. Kind of a high aspect gunshot, but that's what you do. So good on you.
Yeah. I always thought so. I fought the MiG-29 a couple times, and the Hornet's big advantage is BVR, and then within visual range, it's a lot like an F-16. It has tremendous power. I mean, it can go up almost any time it wants.
Yeah, don't go vertical. But Wombat, what do you got?
You guys are awesome. So basically, the bottom line is that as good as you are in DCS is how you would be as a fighter pilot. That's my take on all this.
I just heard Wombat is buying a setup for himself.
Yeah, no, don't knock it, Wombat, until you try. I tell you what, you'll get in this thing. You'll go into the break and fly into the ground immediately.
Dude,
trust me.
He's a rich airline pilot. Just non-rev your ass down to Pensacola with Gonky and put you in
this
wings.
is where you need to work on your ribbing of your friends. You don't say somebody's a rich airline pilot and then tell them to non-rev. Like, come on, bro.
First
if I'm
class
gonna go down there,
yourself.
it's going to be first class. Like, don't. Come on.
Okay.
Don't. You know what?
Listen. All right.
Listen.
It was. I thought it was pretty fun. I wish we had more than one set, because what I wanted to look at was kind of like I wanted to see if I could find something more resembling what I actually did in the real airplane to compare, to be honest. But it was fun, man. It was fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that will be featured Friday, and this will be its own separate video. So there you go. You get to talk about it twice. Thank you for that. We've got Tactical West says, I have a question for Wombat. This sounds like a case of stolen valor. You flew F-35s to the RAAF in Williamtown for a bit, didn't you? Do you remember giving a bunch of Air Force cadets an air show in October 2022?
Yeah, that was a good air show. Those guys. I really appreciated you all coming out.
Who's Tactical West?
I don't know, but
that's funny.
I was retired by then. So
Wombat's never ridden Fat Amy.
Not that one.
Not that.
You don't fly her, you ride her.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
MJ says,
MJ, thanks, man.
Dude, is that pie to how many places? Mover, Gonky, Wombat. I finally made a live show. Awesome content as always. Love the Finny flight video. Stay strong, brothers. Mike from Australia, Stan. Suggested DCS P-51 versus A-10. Hell yeah.
That'd be fun.
Didn't we do that Sunday? I think we might have done that Sunday.
We didn't fight.
Yeah, I ended up making a landing with one engine. It wasn't my plan.
Well, I shot you, but it wasn't a fight.
Oh, it wasn't a fight.
I sucker punched you.
I understand.
MW says, taking my first ever flight soon for work, and I'm nervous for some reason. Any ideas to get over the anxiety?
On that.
Ginger snaps. Just eat all of the ginger snaps.
Death is inevitable. You might as well be comfortable.
Yeah. Bananas taste great coming back up.
We're all...
No,
enjoy
it. Try not to
Gladiator.
overthink it.
We're all dead men. We only get to choose how we meet that end.
Yeah. Just like Wombat said, just try to enjoy it. I mean,
don't overthink it. Try not to overthink it.
Fly first class on a nice airline. Makes it a lot better.
That's
Don't
true.
Skimp. Don't skimp. Don't ride in the coach class with the pores.
Benadryl.
Benadryl. Calm me down.
Skytation says, are you guys in VR when flying DCS? Yes. I don't think we could do it any other way. Plexi. Come on, Wombat. All the cool kids are doing it. I agree.
When my wife lets me.
Laura says, I don't think you're helping this guy's anxiety. Well, anyway, speaking of mental health, this is actually sad. So I don't know if you guys have seen this floating around. There was I think Addison, in Texas.
Yep.
It's like a Cessna or something. The guy basically makes a final radio call and says, this is it. I'm pulling the circuit breaker. goodbye. And do we have that, Doug, that we can play real quick?
Is that it?
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to y'all's instructions, and I'm just heading to East Texas in a career track. So I'm gonna pull the COM1 circuit breaker and the COM2 circuit breaker right here soon. As soon as I unkey the mic.
Career track 655, Addison Tower. Say again.
Yeah, he doesn't respond. So I wanted to talk about this for the mental health minute this week because number one, it affected me. You know, seeing that and hearing the guy's voice. You know, this dude planned this out. You know, this was whatever's going on in my life, it's not it anymore, and this is my way out. And you know, the caption talks about the mental health stigma, which I agree with, and I think there are some smart people that I know personally that are trying to help this and trying to make change and be that change. But it's a slow process, and with any bureaucracy, it does take a while. But here's what I will say about this, because I've talked about this many times about don't make a temporary problem, you know, permanent, or take a permanent solution to a temporary problem like this. And we talk about the mental health minute because we want to try to prevent that by not letting things escalate. And at the beginning of the show, I talked about if you'd looked at me, you know, a year ago and said, you know, your video is going to be, you know, your Finny flight video is going to be on Newsweek. You'll be on the front page of the Air Force Reserve Command website. You'll have a lot of things that you didn't expect actually working. I'd have said, you're crazy. There's no way, you know, this is not how it is. And when you're going through tough times, it doesn't seem like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You feel like if there is a light, it's a train. It's not hope. And you kind of spiral into this, or as people do, this helpless and hopeless feeling. You know, so that's one of the warning signs, you know, when people start talking about being helpless and hopeless, because it's true. You know, when you feel like there's nothing on the other side, and whatever you're dealing with becomes unbearable to carry. And so 988 is a great resource. If you're military one source, there's chaplains. There are people in the squadrons. There's a DPH, director of psychological health now in a lot of squadrons that you can talk to. And as long as you're not about to hurt yourself, a lot of this is non-medical counseling, so it doesn't go on any records or anything like that. The thing is, even if you think that there's no way out, I'm here to tell you there is a light on the other side, that you do have that it may not work out the way you hoped, but it's going to work out. So it's just getting through that storm and getting to the other side. You know, they say, what's the best way? Is it to turn around and run away? No, the storm's going to get you. Is it to stand there? No, it's to keep pushing through, get to that other side of whatever it is. And you will find that there's a great Citizen Soldier song that I recommend. It's called Afterlife. And you don't have to go to the actual afterlife. There is a life after whatever you're going through that could be just as fulfilling and just as awesome. It just might not be what you thought it was supposed to be, but it will be something worth living. And I say this because I think there's nothing more heartbreaking to friends, family, even third-party bystanders than to see something like this, where a guy knew from, you know, an hour or 2 hours to the point that he took his life, that this was going to be the end, when somebody could have intervened and stopped that, and we could have found a way to make it through that. I don't know. Gonky, what do you think?
Sorry. Yeah, I agree. You know, so the first, you know, the whole suicide by airplane crash, the first real life experience I ever had with that, I went to UND. I think it was 1999, so 25 years ago. I don't remember his last name. His name was Bob, and he used to go in the, you know, I used to see him in the gym. We'd talk and stuff. Well, he got a DUI, man, and he, you know, in the airline pilot world, in which that was his goal, to be an airline pilot. If you got a DUI, that at least back then, you know, all that completely, you know, you can never be an airline pilot ever, right? And man, he walked into ops there. He was an instructor. He rented a Seminole and flew it down to South Dakota. Was just doing touch and goes, talking to the tower, kind of like this guy. And then he just literally on downwind, he just said, "Hey, tell my family I love them." And he rolled it in and crashed right in the middle of the airport there. And you know, because I actually knew him, and I'd ask for a spot sometimes. And like I remember thinking, because I was only like 20 at the time, I was thinking like, man, there's no indication in my mind that guy would do that. He seemed pretty normal to me, because we would, small talk and stuff. And then the other thing that really struck me, man, was like his car was at the airport for a while, man, and people were putting flowers on it and stuff. And so like if you're having that mental battle where like, hey, nobody cares. People do care, trust me. Like unfortunately, when if he could have seen everybody who cared, but it's after the fact for him, unfortunately, right? So people actually do care. They might not always show it, but holy cow, if something that badly is bothering you, and you take that kind of action that you can't take back, it has widespread effect. I mean, it affected me, because I was, as a 20-year-old guy, I was like, wow, okay, stress can make people who you perceive as strong do bad things, right? So like Mover always says, don't hold that stuff inside, right? Something happens. And the real tragedy of it is, you were sitting here listening to this guy take his life, and relating it to my own experience that I just shared was, dude, 25 years ago, like, I don't even think Bob was 25. Like a whole lifetime has transpired essentially. And, you could reinvent yourself, like whatever that is. Right. So kind of like you're saying, man, there is a life after whatever it is that's bothering you, man. So that's all I got.
Matt?
I think just listening to you guys, I mean, obviously you've covered it, and this kind of hits home with me just from some things I've dealt with in my life, friends and stuff like that. And I think where you see it is it becomes whatever you're in. We said at the beginning of this video, we kind of joked about it, right? We were like, if you told young Mover and Gonky and Wombat, how would your careers have come to an end? It would have been so different than what happened. And the news flash to everybody out there is, and I wish I could tell literally everybody this, is nobody's plan goes as planned, ever. Nobody. There's not a person out there. If you follow somebody on social media, or if you know somebody in your family, and you think that whatever success they had or whatever position they're in life is what they planned, it's BS. I promise you it's BS. Now, they may tell you that that's what they planned, but that's because they're lying too. And what happens is, because of this world we live in, where seemingly everybody has it together except for you, right? Like, you feel left out, you get overwhelmed, then things start spiraling. Then it's like, to use your example, Gonky, of this guy, like, okay, so you want to be an airline pilot, right? But he gets a DUI. Well, I can't be an airline pilot. Well, first of all, like, that doesn't mean your life's over. There's plenty of other jobs out there that are as good or better than airline pilot. It's just that happened to be your goal. Oh, by the way, are you sure you can't be an airline pilot? Right? I mean, you're putting those things in your head, and it's kind of fitting, because I was literally looking at myself listening to you guys, and I saw what I have put out for a very long time, and I believe in it, is the saying on my shirt of just win today. Like, that is something that didn't come from, some catchphrase or some leader that I heard. It's something that literally, like, there's been times in my life where I've been like, I just got to get through today. Like, just get me through today and I'll figure it out. Whether that's, stuff going on in my family or stuff going on at work or whatever, my own health. It's like, just get through today. Just get through now. And I've helped people with this, and I've talked to people about this, and it's like, dude, sometimes all it is getting through the next hour, minute, second. If that's where you're at, right? If you can just get through the next second, there's a chance. And then get through the next second, there's a chance. But where we lose it is we start manifesting these things in our brain where there's no way out. There's just no way out. And that's where you end up in a, making these decisions. And I think at some point in that chain, if you can break that chain just for a second, like just for 1 second, and expose yourself to the people around you that you're having those feelings, you're going to get somebody to step in and help you, and I've said it on here, like, message me, I have like 3 followers, so it's not like I'm getting a ton of messages, but if you can't get a hold of me, like posts, say stuff on, eventually you're going to get my attention and I'll listen. Like, I know Mover would do it, and Gonky, if he was on anything, would do it as well. Like, because that's all it takes is that one chain in this cycle to break. And then it's like, you get that moment of clarity where you're like, well, wait a second. And it goes to the other thing that I talk about, and that's owning your mind, right? Like, no matter what's going on in your life, it doesn't matter how bad it is, they cannot take away your mind unless you let them. So no matter how far off the rails you are, and Mover, you and I have talked about this, no matter how far off your career path or whatever you think is going, if you don't let them own your mind, you have a chance. The minute whatever's against you owns your mind, you're done. So that's your last stronghold, man. You got to hold on to your mind. And if you can do that, you got a chance. And we can all do it together. That's the thing, is you're not in this fight alone. I mean, every one of us has dealt with something, with friends, with situations we've been in. I guarantee you 99% of the people in the chat that watch this, all the same stuff. And it's, don't feel like you're on an island, because you're not, and that's, just get through the next second. That's all it takes. You got a chance.
Doug, fill in the holes for us.
This is a tough topic for me.
Yeah.
I've talked about it for years in class, and my dad killed himself 3 years ago. So I took a break from talking about it for a little while. And then when I did talk about it again, I had a lot more to say, I think. I'm going to echo what Wombat said, except from a different perspective, that the breaking the chain thing, it may not be that you're thinking about your own suicide. It may be that you're thinking about somebody else's. And, if somebody says to you, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm thinking about doing this, take it seriously. Don't write it off. Don't say it's a call for help. Yeah, it's a call for help. They're asking you to help them stop from killing themselves. So, treat that seriously and take the opportunity to intervene in somebody's life if you get it, even if it doesn't work, because you may find yourself with only that as your consolation is, hey, I tried. I had a chance and I tried, or I had a chance and I didn't try. And that can be a really big deal. So the perspective from keeping yourself from being a victim is very important, but perspective for helping people who might also be victims is there too.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I went through a situation, I didn't even think about it, Doug, until you bring that up, but where literally a friend of mine from the military called me, and I mean, I was in the garage getting ready to work out or finish working out, hit the rowing machine for half an hour, and my phone rings, and he's in his office, gun in hand, told me he's going to do it. I can hear his wife and daughter screaming in the background. And my biggest fear was, I'm going to lose cell signal and I'm never going to get him back. And I'm like, I literally didn't move for 2 hours sitting on that rower because I was afraid I was going to drop the signal. But convinced him to unlock the door. You know what I mean? And you're right, Doug. That's huge. I mean, I feel dumb for missing that aspect of it. Like, you don't know when you're going to be called on to be that person on the other end. And it's like, dude, nothing else matters at that point, because I'll tell you, like, if somebody's doing that, like, you're their lifeline, period. Like, and you didn't ask to be their lifeline, but you don't have a choice. Like, because guess what? Even if you're a selfish person, you're going to live with however that works out for the rest of your life. And if you say, hey man, I'm busy, it's like, and it ultimately goes the wrong way, like, you're going to have to live with that too. So, and I've had a friend who that happened to. He's like, I wish I had stayed on the phone.
Yeah,
So
we have some protocols where I've literally taken people by the hand and said, "Okay, I'm not letting you go until I hand you off to a professional," because I'm technically not that person. But we're walking together until we get to that person.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. This world has done crazy things, man. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's social media. I don't know if it's the news. I don't know if it's just everything that's going on, or there's something's changed, or at least it's more prevalent and out there. I don't, I'm curious. Like if I talk to my folks, if they dealt with this as much, in their 40s, you know what I mean? Like, and I just don't know. I don't. Maybe it was just quiet. I don't know, but it's the world we live in, right? You have to adapt to it. You can't just look back and be like, well, my folks didn't have to deal with it, or, well, I got other stuff. It's like, this is the world we live in now. So do the best we can to help each other out. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, we got some comments from the audience. JB Smoke says, good mental health minute. Tough times are transient. If you're willing to dig yourself out, you will need help. Accept it. Riri says, I don't think enough emphasis is placed on living through your emotions until you get past that emotion, whatever that emotion is, good and bad. There's always something next.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to be willing to accept that it may not be what you thought. And I think that acceptance is the ultimate way to move past it and understand that, you're not what other people thought. You're not what, you originally thought. You're in a unique situation. Don't compare yourself to what you hoped or what other people thought. Compare yourself to what's factually correct right now. And, that's hard to do, but that's what's needed. Zena says, it's funny when you were on your last string, corny epithets. Douglas, what's this word? Epithets?
Yep, that's it.
Epithets. Or saying you say to yourself, but then you look back and then say, wow, that actually worked. Make them tell you no. Zippers Forever said, ask for help and be there when they need help. I've done both. We'll never fly again, but life is better now than it has ever been. It comes with the best dog in the world. Sorry, Luna. Plexi says, as someone who has lost a close friend and from suicide, I second what Doug said. Always takes it seriously if someone's going through something and it makes any kind of comment about ending it. Obviously, I spent a lot of time dealing with this stuff. I have been in situations where somebody was threatening to take their life. I've been in situations where they just took their life. I've been in situations where they took their life and somebody else's life. I have seen the fallout and I have seen the results. But I've also seen the opposite side where we got there in time and we're able to intervene. And sometimes that intervention is not pretty. It's an ugly process. When a person gets to that point in their life and they are ready to be done, it's ugly. It's not going to be clean. It's not going to be, oh, never mind, because there's going to be the intervention is going to be a complicated thing, but the other side of that intervention means a life again. You're going to get through this ugly part because somebody stopped you or you stopped yourself, but then you're going to get help and then you're going to move on with your life. It's when people don't get to that point, it's even uglier because then, you've got all the fallout. And I've talked to so many people, Doug, you're one of them. And I'm sorry for bringing this topic up, but it changes their lives forever. Like you are changing everybody's life. It's not just yours. When you do that, it's real. So
no, I appreciate you bringing that up because I didn't know how far I could get into it.
Yeah. Plexi blames YouTube for throwing random letters into his comments. And Laura says, sometimes life isn't shits and giggles. It's just shit. You have to stick it out until you get back to the giggles. There's always more giggles to be giggled. And that is it, nice. Fellas. We have gone super long.
That's
right. I think that was That was good. What do you got? How do we end this?
You
How do we
say that like it's
stop?
a bad thing?
How do we, make this? Wombat, did you watch the Rolex 24? I heard the Mustangs are doing well.
I did not.
Corvette did not do well this year.
I didn't watch it. I'm sorry.
I couldn't watch it because the local WDSU NBC decided, you know what? We're not going to do what the guide says. We're going to show a nature show.
No.
I angry tweeted them, but they didn't respond.
Shocking.
I guess I don't have enough followers yet to be taken seriously.
I certainly don't then. So
Ross Rose says, been a while since I've been able to make
Thanks,
it live.
Rose.
Glad I was able to be here to listen to Mental Health Minute tonight. Very important topic, and thank you for talking about it all.
You're welcome.
Has Luna been here? No, she's in bed.
She's gone.
She's got to get her teeth cleaned. I had to feed her second supper because I know well, you know why I had to feed her second supper?
Sounds delicious.
It does sound good.
Here's the thing. So she's been manipulating me a lot lately, and I've broken up her little food packet to 3 a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But she has managed to scheme her way into breakfast is when we wake up at like 5:30 or 6, and then lunch is at 10:30, and then dinner is at noon. So today she has to fast because she's getting her teeth cleaned tomorrow. So I gave her a second supper because I know that she's probably going to be super mad in the morning when she gets no breakfast. So I was trying to like preempt this before she poops in my shoes because she's not getting breakfast in the morning.
This is a long way of saying you're the XO of your ship also.
I am in the Lunamobile, God rest its soul. I am second in command. And Gary says great show as always.
Hey Gary, thanks, man.
And Gonky Car Bomb says hi.
Oh, hey, tell him I said hello.
What does that mean?
Car Bomb, he was one of the guys in the Argos.
That's a Navy call sign?
I wonder if it's the same car bomb that was in the Warhawks with me. He was a DH.
He might have been. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's been more than one car bomb.
No, I'm sure.
All right. Parting shots. Wombat.
Thanks for having me. As always.
Man. Thanks for coming, dude. Appreciate it.
Gonky.
The bromance is alive, man.
Yeah. Besties. Best friends forever. And Douglas.
I'm still getting over being told we weren't fighting.
It's
like telling somebody we'll be racing when I say we're racing.
I like
you were driving straight ahead. What are you talking about? You were already returning because you were de-arming or whatever.
I got you.
I a little bit of 50 cal right into that left engine to make it you needed a log, a counter for a single engine approach.
That worked out.
So you didn't die. All right, folks. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Hasta.
Good night, everyone.